Hello everyone and welcome to the RGDS podcast. I'm your host Gordon King, and joining me in this very interesting episode, more on that in a bit, is the one and only and my good friend Paul Driscoll. Hello mate, how are you doing?
I'm well. I mean, this has been an emotional episode. It's been quite a task playing through these games, but I'm glad we always said that we would do it. We did the UK equivalent, so I'm glad we're doing the US variant.
That's right. So in case you've not noticed the flyer for the episode or saw the advert on social media, and in this particular one we are covering the licensed tie-ins of American TV shows, so a good number of episodes back. Can't even remember the episode number now, so much for doing my research there. Well done, Gordon. We covered a plethora of UK show tie-ins. Now, Paul and I went through the absolute pains, to the amusement of the listeners, to be honest, covering some of the most painful 8-bit games.
EastEnders.
I've still got bloody flashbacks and PTSD for that bloody one yet. That was bloody awful. I mean, I thought Supergram was going to be the worst game, but clearly, I mean, I'll be the same Pet and all that. Oh my!
They were awful.
Oh, it was awful. So we did say at the end of that particular episode that in time, when we had recovered, we would go to the American TV show equivalent. So here we are, we've arrived, we're back at it. And it's been an interesting one for sure. But before we get on to that, I've not caught up with you in a little while, because you've been...
It has, yeah.
You know, between doing the Amiga episode and just a bit of the summer holidays and just longer periods between the episodes, and obviously I recorded that one with John more recently. Yeah. It's good to be back with you. So what have you been up to?
I've been doing lots. I've been really enjoying. First of all, Doom 1 and 2 remaster got dropped by Night Dive Studios. So, obviously everybody knows Doom 1 and 2.
Never heard of it.
But what people might not know with it is I say that with this remaster, if you've bought it before. And you've got to admire Microsoft for this. They're leaving a lot of money on the table doing this. But if you bought it before, like on Steam, they give it the upgrade for free. And they did the same with Quake as well.
Sure.
And that's a wonderful thing. Do you remember, it was years ago, I was having that rant about how I thought it was like incorrigible that id... this time they weren't owned by Microsoft, were like releasing these games on Steam, but you had to use like third-party tools to even get them working, and I thought that was bang out of order. Well, they finally, that's another one. I'm still waiting for Hex and the Heretic. That's going to be the one that will complete the main ones of my past. But Doom 1 and 2, absolutely awesome. Beautiful remasters, as you'd expect with Night Dive Studios. All the extra gubbins with the mouse controls, few UI changes, subtle things, like weapon select and things, just to sort of like take it over the edge. But what's great... Well, one, multiplayer is all integrated in, so there's no like faffing. You can go straight in and do death matches, no problem. So that's awesome. As I say, it's Doom 1 and 2, but you've also and all the music as well, all the like the CD versions of the music, etc. So it just plays as you thought you remembered it. Still plays fantastically well. But what's amazing, it's got all the extras. So you've got Doom 1 and 2, Final Doom, you've got all the mod packs that were released afterwards. You've even got Sigil 1 and 2, which are the ones done by John Romero.
Yeah.
And you've got another one, the name escapes me, but it's basically a new thing for the pack. So you get another id designed sort of like a couple of missions, like it's 2 episodes, so you get so much content, and I've been having a blast playing through it again. I mean, Doom is such a phenomenal game, so really been addicted with that. I did do a video I've uploaded just of like a half an hour playthrough. I didn't go too much into each, like particularly with Doom 1 because a lot of people know it, but I tried to show some of the mods and things because some of them are completely different. You know, they're standalone games in their own right. But that's, awesome. So I'm over the moon with that. I'll let you go for one, and then I'll say a couple of other things I've been doing as well. Do you want to?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I've done a couple of things. I've just had a bit of a lazy time. Obviously, I broke off on annual leave for a couple of weeks, so I just kind of downed the tools and just wanted to get away from it for a while. So I was more outdoors and out on the bike, and off to Edinburgh and things you do when you're off on annual leave. So that was good. I just needed that, a bit respite from it all. But obviously I uploaded on our YouTube channel, because I promised to do that, was showing the gubbins inside my digital pinball table. So that's had a few views now. So that I did say I'd do that. So that's up there, and I'll put that in the show notes anyway for
very
the
cool,
listeners.
very cool setup. Because of course you've got it where you've got it as a vertical gaming machine as well.
That's right. Well, in the process when I was designing it, it was just one of these toilet seat epiphanies going, well, if I got pinball on it and it's in that, orientation, the vertical mode on the screen, then it would be silly, since there's a good computer inside anyway, whack on all the vertical main ROMs and have that set up as well. And, a good Samwa joystick on top, good buttons as well. I bought it as a removable joystick as well, just in case I thought it'd maybe get in the road of playing pinball. And in the end, it doesn't, so it was like a tenner more to buy something at a joystick.
Nice.
Good for
nice
transport. Good for transport if I'm moving it anywhere. So it really works well, and I'm really pleased with it, and I'm still tweaking and whatnot with it, but I've had real great fun, and especially because obviously it's got Pinball Arcade, FX Pinball, Future Pinball is it's like the people that make visual pinball, so you've got the Future Pinball one as well. So there's lots of homemade tables and that, and some of these ones by homemade, just bedroom coders if you want, have created real phenomenal tables, like the Star Wars one and the Aliens one, and even there's lesser ones that are just like small hobbyists have made. They're still great. I downloaded a massive pack from archive.org, and it's got someone's made a Moon Patrol one, so it's got all the samples. It's not great, but it's fun. It's there, so why not have it? So it's superb, real superb fun. I'm having a blast with it. I mean, you get bored with the pinball and the vertical MAME, blast away at the Aliens, or playing the 1940 series.
Is it powerful enough? Is it powerful enough to play like the cave shooters and things?
Yeah,
or is it?
absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
awesome. No, that's a real
so
setup,
I mean, my Steam's on it. So any of the modern day shooters that I've got, even that I've purchased on Steam, runs absolutely no problem on it. So yeah, it's got a 1080 Ti graphics card inside. So it's a pretty strong processor as well. It's an i7 processor, so it's probably I'm underusing it, So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, what else did you say you were doing then?
Yeah, so other things I've been up to is I also picked up that SP Grand Prix. Have you seen?
I have seen it, yes, but what's your views on it?
Really good. I mean, I've been following the guy that Roz. He's just an individual that's doing it. I've been following him on Twitter. So I was keen to sort of see it. It looks fantastic in the videos, but playing it. I mean, it's an alpha build, so I did encounter a couple of like bugs, but all the important things there are there, like really solid racing mechanics, super fast, great sense of speed, really interesting track designs. Everything was there. The only things I sort of I've reached out to him and said like brilliant, over the moon, but I've discovered these couple of things which a few people had discovered as well. There was just like there was like a startup bug where it would sort of like you couldn't accelerate properly.
So you broke the game. You had 5
broke the
minutes on it
game.
and you broke it. You're very good at breaking games, Paul.
I'm very good. I should be a tester.
A games breaker, yeah.
Yeah. But there are a couple of little things like that.
Oh.
But a few things when you like crashed, it got caught in an infinite loop of spinning. But he's already doing the patch update. But because it's not that expensive. Like I think introductory price it's like £10. And it like normally is charging like £11 or £12.
Yeah.
So he's not like overcharging with it. As it's early build, it's only got the arcade bit of it. It hasn't got like the Grand Prix bits. But to be honest, that's all I really care about, the arcade bits. And I've been having a real fun sort of trying to get like because you get stars for each one you beat.
Yeah.
And you need the stars to unlock the other track, so it really gives you that cool sense of progression. So over the moon with that. I would definitely recommend it to people. And going more modern, but still with like retro ideals. I picked up so the free to play Asphalt Legends Unite. I don't know if you had a chance to sort of try that.
I just checked the trailers. I need to play this now. It looks great fun.
Yeah, so I picked it up on my Xbox. I mean, it's free to play, which I hate. I hate like because it's not about the gameplay loop necessarily. It's about trying to nickel and dime you. But when I started playing it, it just got me addicted. It's basically has a lot of the mechanics of Burnout. It's got great visuals. It's got so many places around the world. They're all like fantasy tracks, but they're based in cities. Yeah. And it's exactly what I want. I hate all these like more modern races where they're like just all open world and they concentrate on the wrong thing. This concentrates just on fun, fast, over the top racing with like you got jumps and spins and everything. It really is the best arcade racer I've played in a long time. I think. Asphalt Legends. I've so far I've only paid £8.69, which was like for the welcome, pack. But I've been, I mean, I'm already starting to see. This is after like weeks of, days and days of play. I'm already starting to see where they're. You can't get this final tick on the tracks because they give like challenges of each one, unless you have this car. So they're trying. I can see how, but for me, for me, it's all about the experience. So I don't really care about getting necessarily all the ticks, as long as I can still progress through, which is what I'm finding I can do anyway.
If you can, because sometimes I don't trust these, almost advertises free to play, and then all of a sudden you have to keep buying all the other packs.
I mean, it doesn't seem that aggressive. That's what I would say. Okay. In its, but I've certainly haven't. I mean, you know me, I'm a bit of a tightwad, so I won't spend. But the way I was kind of looking at it, I mean, when I did the welcome pack, was actually I'm liking this enough that I want to actually give them a little bit of money towards it, because it's just nice to have an arcade racer that's like with modern graphics but old racing ideals. And finally, the game I picked up, which I know a lot of our listeners have been talking about, is Thank Goodness You Are Here. You're Here. Really, really funny. It's have you seen the game?
I've seen the trailers of it.
So sort of to our listeners, you'll see it on the video version, the trailer, but they describe it as a slap former. And it's kind of, it's not really, it's a very casual game, to be honest, but it's sort of set in this sort of fictional seaside town in the sort of Yorkshire way, north of England, and it's just very, very funny, just so much humour. But I mean, all you're really doing is like running around, slapping and jumping the people. There's simple-ish puzzles, but it's mostly, it's not what I would call like an adventure game, but it is genuinely really, really funny. Very, very good writing. It's done by that who did the Goose game, isn't it? The same publishers who did the Goose game. So I definitely another recommend for me. So yeah, I've been having a blast playing all these things, and there's so many other ones out there that I'm keeping an eye on. You pointed out Overjump Rally, that looked really good, and that sent me down the rabbit hole. There's DDI Rally and Old School Rally, which are like a tenner each. But I'm trying to stop myself until I get the job. I'm trying to stop myself doing too many purchases.
I know what it's like. It's
yeah.
just when you go, that's a good price, or you just fancy it at that moment in time, a little impulse buy. But hey, you know what I like when our wives go down to the shops and come back and they spend a fortune in shitty clothes. I'll probably just go in the wardrobe. So, you know.
Yeah, well, that was it. I mean, the SP Grand Prix I was definitely going to buy. The Doom 1 and 2 I was all set to buy, but it was free. And the thank goodness you're here. It just looks so unique and different. I just thought, you know what, I really need to sort of, and it's one of those that if you watch too many videos, it'll spoil it. You sort of need to come at it fresh, really.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't delve in too deep. I mean, you just listen to what the narrative sounds like, the voice actors and whatnot. And
I mean, one of the things, it's got Matt Berry, which I was like intrigued with, but it's really bad because he's putting on a Yorkshire northern accent, which Matt Berry shouldn't be putting on a northern accent because it just sounds wrong. But anyway, yeah. So I've been playing lots and also playing these delightful games that you selected.
Yeah, it's my fault, listeners.
Yeah.
I dragged Drisky back down this one again, and we have endured an agonising good few hours of playing games of very mediocre quality. But you know what? It was part of the period, where software houses, especially, it's mainly Elite and Ocean predominantly in this particular one, because surprisingly, there aren't as much American TV show tie-ins as there were as much British ones for some strange and bizarre reason, because there's other shows that are most definitely missing that, whether they could secure a license deal or not, who knows. But yeah,
we can come to that at the end.
Yeah, so I mean, this is what we're on about here, just in case nobody's listened to the first episode of this covering the British ones, is that at this point, there was a rush by software houses in the day to grab as many tie-in licenses as possible because it sold money, or you hope it would make money for them. So you had obviously movie tie-ins, and we've had excellent quality games like Batman, the Cape Crusader, Robocop, Untouchables, Ghostbusters, all very and hugely successful.
The movies
games
are quite good, aren't they, really, compared to the TV ones?
Yeah, because the trouble with TV shows, they're more about character development, aren't they, rather than a condensed story where there's key points and key elements. That scene in that movie will make a good bit of a game. This scene here, TV shows didn't quite lend themselves. So what they're trying to do in these games is capture the premise. It's very, very raw format throughout all of the games chosen in this. And yeah, some of them have been even worse than I recall, because many of them I did own back in the day. Probably many I copied because I wasn't going to part with my money, because you got burned a few times and you just were not interested remotely in
pocket money. I was burned from the beginning, because I remember distinctly I got the Dixon Spectrum Plus 2 pack.
Yep.
It had lots of cool games in there, to be fair, but one of the compilations you got with that was called Screen Heroes.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and it had Rambo, which wasn't that bad, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, which was amazing, we love that, and it's got Daley Thompson's Super Test, I think it was.
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah,
that's decent, I like that.
Yeah, so we're on the decent ones, but it also had, it had Highlander, which was awful.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely awful. But it had 3 of the games that we're going to cover, obviously based on US TV shows. It had Miami Vice, Street Hawk, and Night Ride. So that was a good learning curve without, I guess I didn't have to buy them, but it taught me that compilations were pretty bad.
I mean, I bet
or, like licenses were pretty bad.
Dixon's must have got the rights to put that onto a compilation package at a very cheap price, and probably got it for nothing. Take these, put them on cassettes, get them out.
Yeah. Well, this was the period when Ocean really. This is when they brought it all in house, because they were just producing such garbage.
Yeah.
That they brought it all in house instead of like going to all these people, trying to get them to make it. Consultants making it for them.
Yeah.
But I was surprised actually. Some of these, when you look at it, it had some big names attached, like Dawn, and some big Ocean names and Paul Dury and that. I was just really surprised. It's like what happened. I can only assume they were just told to like churn it out as quickly as they could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. A huge rush job. You don't know the ins and outs of the license agreements, especially very aggressive American TV companies, whereas there's a finite window when you get a license. If you don't have a product out by this time, we will sell it to a rival. So you won't have, say, 6 months from the point of agreement to getting a product on the shelves, or the deal is over. So that won't help matters either. And these kind of things still happen for book adaptions, for where nowadays TV conversions, but back in the past, big epic fantasy books were always. It's like people bought them to park them so rivals couldn't produce it as well. So it's a pain in the arse, that kind of thing, But maybe this is what limited the amount of American TV shows, games, tie-ins.
So possibly, I mean, some of them were like incredibly ambitious, really. Mm-hmm. So, but the fundamentals were really bad. It's just very strange that they would have. Yeah. But we'll come to them.
We'll come to that. So I think before we start, then, what are your memories of TV shows like this that we're covering in general? So ones that you maybe saw in the 80s, like we all just, made habit of seeing where possible.
Do you know, I realised that a lot of these I hadn't sort of like seen, as there was quite a few blanks, I guess. Okay. But I mean, Knight Rider, I used to love that. The A-Team, used to adore that. Street Hawk, actually, I had lots of fond memories of.
Short-lived as well, one season.
Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it? Because it's quite good. It's quite fun watching. Yeah. Because I did sort of watch Airwolf. I do remember watching, of course, but I wasn't probably religiously watching. Never seen others like Blue Thunder. V really was special to me. I remember sneakily watching that on my black and white TV. When I should have been in bed watching that,
yeah, because it was quite late on a Sunday night when it aired, if I remember correctly. So especially when it was initially the miniseries before it then followed on to the TV series. Yeah,
but I mean these were fun. Things like Miami Vice and things. I was too young for, really. I didn't really.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I think it's even today. It's such a special time watching these. Yeah, they were entertaining fun, weren't they?
Oh, they were. I mean, it wasn't like our TV, that's the thing, was it? So for me, I suppose it would have started in the more later 70s for me as a kid. So you would see, on a Sunday night, you would see Starsky and Hutch or Kojak, okay? Hill Street Blues. You would see Magnum P. High, as I used to call it, So, and then, of course, all the ones you mentioned, like the A-Team, Airwolf, all this. So, there's a big... I mean, we're steeped in American culture in the UK, and we couldn't get enough of these big shows because the production values that American TV had, they were producing... I mean, we had things like The Professionals and that, which were excellent shows, but they didn't have the production values that these American shows had that almost gave somewhat cinematic experiences to the TV shows, didn't it? In a TV kind of way.
Yeah. No, that was it. I mean, it's, and even going back to it today, it's just fun, watching like the car chases, the stunts. The eye candy that's.
There's always the eye candy, isn't there? There's always a a buxom blonde or whatever in these shows, whether it be Fall Guy, whether it be Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, it was like, no wonder your dad watched it with you. He watched it for different reasons, didn't he?
I know, it's just so many like daft like stories and you know, it's like one of the clips I saw was like Magnum PI, and it was like you know, he sees a nun working on a ladder, and he's like walking away, not thinking because he's on a nunnery, and he's like, hang on, nuns don't work on Sunday. and the woman's got trained and all the nun. He shoots this nun. And you're like, maybe she could be working. That was a bit
The funny thing is as well, when you do go back, like any of the shows, like even the one we mentioned in the British one, is it was a different time and certain different, you know, political correctness and that. It was all different, wasn't it? So it certainly was a different time. But TV shows, look at the way Netflix and Amazon Prime and Paramount, HBO, everyone, they're all making episodic TV shows, procedural ones like most of these are still popular to this day, because it's light-hearted enough that if you miss one week, you can come in the following week and it's just a story or victim of the week. Most of these weren't they, victim of the week, and some helping them out in some form or another. So it's just a retelling of damsel in distress 9 times out of 10 as well. So, but no, highly enjoyable. And you can see then why, with that kind of appeal and the high viewing figures, that was a ready-made fan base that had the 8-bit computers that were ready to rush and part with a hard-earned cash, then cry at the back of it. I mean, the magazines weren't ever favourable for these. They were very tough on them, weren't they? They were, you know, you look
some of them are looking at like 70 or 80%, and you're like, really?
Yeah, I wouldn't even give it that. You know, it's like, yeah, what drugs were you taking when you awarded it that? So.
Well, they were giving advert times, wasn't it? You know, but no, I was surprised how some of them are high. But yeah, no, it was as painful as it was. It was also fun, sort of like going through some of these games. And there is one, which I won't spoil until we get to it, where in my mind it was like the worst game of this list. If you were to ask me, it was the worst game of this list. For some reason, I decided it was the worst game ever. And actually, it's probably one of the better games on the list. And I don't know why I had this such negative viewpoint on it.
Yeah, no, I think I know the game you mean, and I equally agree with you there, but we'll get to that. But also on this one, the last time we just dedicated it to the Spectrum only, and, you know, we're missing out on other listeners, so... but the trouble is as well, on that particular episode, a lot of the games were Spectrum only, Tynesoft and stuff like that, didn't release everything on the Commodore. So this time round, we couldn't cover everything, so sorry Amstrad listeners.
Well, I did give them I'll give a little mention. I did give some of them a little playthrough.
Yeah, cool. But we have played predominantly for this episode the Spectrum and the Commodore. Thankfully, the premise has been the same in the games, because sometimes when you
totally different games.
Yeah, it's a complete different game. You know, just give it to a different team. Here's the premise. Knock yourself out, and all of a sudden, 2 different products. This time round, it's pretty much tit for tat, so it's interesting to compare and see what we like the best and whatnot. So anyway, do you think we should move on to our first game?
I think so. Talk about the TV show as well.
Yep, of course, the game and TV show. So let's go back to what began in 1979, and this is the Dukes of Hazzard.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straightening the curves, flattening the hills. Someday the mountain might get them, but the law never will. Making their way the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the law will allow.
I mean, the Dixie horn was probably the most iconic, and the car as well.
That orange car with the the Dodge.
The General Lee, as it was dubbed.
Yes,
the Dodge Charger from the 1969 Dodge Charger that they drove. Yeah, so what a show this was. It ran from 79 till 85, something like that. So that's a good run, because TV shows can be quite brutal when you get into them, and all of a sudden it doesn't matter if you watch it in the UK, especially back then. Worldwide ratings don't matter. It's exported. They base it on their whatever that statistic it is, they use in America for how many people have watched it, and they base their ratings on that. And what is the Dukes of Hazzard? Well, it is two cousins, Bo and Luke.
They're probably cousins and brothers.
Well, it is that, because they come from the fictional town Hazzard, a fictional town in Hazzard County in Georgia, right? And obviously they drive about in this car. Now, basically, the town is corrupt, right? There's a crime boss called, Boss Hogg, right? The bald-headed fat guy always gets driven around in a limousine with the cow horns in the front of it, and he owns the police. So there's all the dodgy dealings going on. He owns the land. He has influence on all the politicians, everything. So basically, every week they're thwarting his plans, and the car always comes into it. There's always crazy car chases where, the car can leap over rivers, over bridges that are incomplete, and, go on two wheels round corners, leave the other cop cars behind in dust and whatnot. But it was comedic as well, It was light-hearted enough. It was good family viewing. Everybody tuned in to watch it. But the car was like Starsky and Hutch's car. The car was cool. We all had the toy, the car, as kids at that age,
Oh, yeah.
as well.
No, I loved it. I had the one where it was like a barn, and I think you'd pull back the car and then it would go up the ramp and do the jump.
That's right. That's cool. Right. Well minded. That was a classic toy. That's as iconic as the Evel Knievel one, where you wind the wheel to spin him off the ramp.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah. But the only downside to that at that time, then, every fanny in town got their horns modified illegally with that, and all drove about, and it was like an old Mark 1 Escort or a clapped out Nova. And it's like, really, that horn's probably worth more than your car. And Rapid Gav, our listener, he's a classic car man, vintage car man. He'll be saying these cars are brilliant. No, they're not. Right. But what other memories do you have of this show, mate?
Do you know, I haven't watched it that much.
Okay.
I mean, it was one that I used to watch occasionally, but I guess it was really difficult to watch TV at this period for me, because my mum and dad were very much, it was what they wanted to watch. They were into their soaps and crap like that. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, probably, particularly you've got to remember, like, 1985 was still quite young for me, but I had enough with the toys, and I knew of it. I'd catch the odd episode, but I never got a chance to watch it religiously. One of the things doing this episode, it's like I'm gonna download the collection, because it's the bits I have seen is like hilarious, and Daisy is very nice as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and but that's all. You're right. It's genuinely sort of like funny, great sort of like car chasey scenes, and it's one that I think I could enjoy digging into properly.
I mean, I just like to rekindle it, because I haven't really seen it since probably reruns ended in the sort of later 80s. But it's good to tap into YouTube and watch bits and go, I actually remember that episode, or just small things, and just the accents and the voice of the boss and stuff like that. So it was very nostalgic just to tap into it. I don't know, like you, as you know, and I've said that as many times, I do find movies and TV shows very ephemeral, so I would never truly go back and watch a box set or anything like that. But that doesn't say that the memory of it and the nostalgia of it isn't as strong in my head. I just like to keep it that way for me, that's all. Because going back and watching things, I do find show's date, the dress sense, the haircuts, and just.
But that's part of the charm for me. That's
Yeah,
for me. For me, TV. Like, I love 80s films and TV for that very reason. That it's almost like time traveling back to a happier time.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's good. So on to the video game itself. So Elite Systems, a fully named Elite Systems Limited, very boring, but known as Elite. They secured the license for both, obviously, the Commodore and Spectrum that we're covering here. That was released in 1985. So obviously, really towards the end of the run of Dukes of Hazzard. But obviously, we're always a bit behind when we get on our TVs. You know, it's always a season behind, a year behind, or whatever. You know, time it gets, inverted commas, shipped across to the British shores. So in this one, oh god, I have to. I'm starting to get.
I'll
You want to
describe it
explain
to
the
our
game?
listeners,
Yeah, you explain the game, mate.
So basically, it's a very simple concept, really.
Yeah.
You're in the General Lee car. It starts with the famous Dixie horn, or whatever it's called, and you're basically driving from left to right, and there's helicopters firing at you. There's other vehicles on the track which you have to dodge. You can sort of go up and down the track, slow down, fast forward, and also jump. So there's quite a few moves. It's actually, premise-wise, it's not that bad, really. You've got the cop car after you, and it's got nice graphics. It runs at a reasonable pace, you know, when you're going pretty fast. What's annoying with it, and it's weird why they couldn't have, you know, just some slight tweaks could have made this so much better, is all the annoyances. Like if you throw the bricks, for example, at the other cars, they explode into shrapnel, and you often can't avoid that shrapnel.
No, you
Just
can't.
nothing
No.
can do.
Yeah.
The jumps, the point where you should be able to jump over something, won't make it. You have to literally be bumper to bumper, where it's far too close
Yes.
to do the jump. And unfortunately, it's full of things like that. I mean, one of the things that is nice is that when you get hit and die, which is a lot, the car does this fantastic sort of like crashing roll, which looks very well done.
To get a good sort of, especially on both versions, so whether it be the Commodore or the Spectrum, there's a good 3D feel to the car when it's rolling in the air, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, just to mention, the C64 version actually came out 2 years later than the Spectrum. The Spectrum one came in 85 and C64 in 87.
So it's really late on for a lame game on the Commodore, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the C64 version is basically doing the same, but it
Plays to its strengths
it plays a lot better. I mean, obviously there's more detail on the car. I mean, the Spectrum does a lot for it. I had more fun. It seemed to be a little bit more playable on the C64.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the difference being, right, so on the Spectrum version, rather than just accelerating, you have to do track and field, Daley Thompson's decathlon on the M key, and keep tapping it rapidly, right? I was terrified I was going to break my mechanical keyboard on my PC playing it under emulation. I would not. I've learned my lesson. That play that on my Spectrum next and damage the membrane with repetitive, finger bashing. That is not happening. So that was frustrating, because then when you let go of it to slow down, you're not really in control of the braking per se. You're really just waiting on friction to slow the car down, so to speak. At least on the Commodore, you are just accelerating. What annoyed me in the Spectrum one as well is there were only 2 lanes on the wider highway. On the Commodore there's 3, so there's a bit more dodging and weaving on the Commodore one. But apart from that,
essentially the same game, isn't it? Really, I mean, they're both not great.
There's no winner here in that way. I mean, graphically, yes, the Commodore one, especially the scrolling and the sound effects, are clearly better, but it still doesn't deliver a fantastic
it's so
game.
frustrating, because there's a really good game here, just needed some gameplay tweaks.
I think so.
The removing of the shrapnel, or at least making the shrapnel less targeting, and just like sorting out that jump. To be fair, actually, the C64, the jump's a lot better.
Yeah.
I felt I could do the jumps more accurately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well, as you progress in the levels, the vehicles don't really change that much. As background scenery does, you know, you go to
The
kind of
beach. You go to the
beach,
beach.
coastal, yeah.
I didn't know the Midwest had
skyscaping.
beaches, but I guess.
Yeah, and for some reason they just love to give you hot air balloons in these games to piss you off more than anything else. But I remember it was my brother's mate that actually bought this, and used to. So they, with them being older than me, they both done shit at school, and they were on YTS somewhere at the same time. So they would. How much did you get in YTS games? At £29 a week or something it was, or right?
Yeah.
And they would blow their paycheck on some Spectrum games. So they'd always come down to the house on a Friday, and I'd come home from school, and my brother had fired up my Spectrum, and they were playing it in the house. So, and then I copied his games on cassette, you know. And I just remember laughing incredibly at his disappointment of the game and how much he absolutely hated it, you know, and he felt he had wasted his a bit of his paycheck on something so mediocre. And I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily a waste of the license, because it has to be the car. The car is the iconic thing. So there was no point making any game about the protagonist. Who cared? You know what I mean? Especially the kids that were buying the game at that point. So they nailed the concept of the car right, and it leaping in the air and dodging traffic. It just needed to be a bit more fluid, a bit more fun, and a bit more variety, and maybe had a worthwhile game there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, you know, the simplicity isn't the problem of the gameplay. The fact that there's no real difference between the levels. The problem is just those mechanics that just make it frustrating. I mean, this is one that I very quickly had to put like the poke on
same as
to get
me.
infinite lives, because it does make it less frustrating. Because I was thinking, God, I'm not going to see like even level 2 at this rate. I was like, no matter, you know, because there's too many times when it's not even, you know, I made a mistake. It's just there's nothing you could have done. You know, it's not like learning the patterns. I mean, that helps to a certain extent. It's just, yeah, there's too often there's like nothing you can do, deaths, which it seems to relish them. But yeah, I mean, overall, you know, compared to a lot of these other games on the list, it's not the worst on here.
No, it's not at all, no. I actually played it for a lot longer than I imagined I would, and you'll see some of my terrible playing in the video footage of it if you're watching the YouTube version of this episode. I mean, Paul was at me, he was like, any chance you can ever go recording some of the videos as well, because otherwise you're just going to see level 1, and it's the same for me as well. I was like, crying out loud, this is...
You chose the games. I think it's a
I know,
rule.
yeah,
Whoever
yeah, quite
chooses the games.
You make me suffer. Well, trouble is, we're playing the games anyway, so you may as well just hit record, you know what I mean?
I
So
guess.
That's the point, so...
But, and of course you get the pickup truck that tows it away at the end, which you do see a lot as well.
Many a time, yeah, for sure.
But overall, it's good. It's okay. I didn't feel that aggrieved with this, but it was more annoyingly frustrating.
Yeah. Right, so I'm glad to see that, and our tail likes that one, and we'll move on to our next TV show. Now listen to this theme tune. So come on, everyone recognises that. And it's Airwolf. Of course it's Airwolf. If you didn't get that from the tune, you never watched TV in the 80s. So, Airwolf. I think we all chuckled before when we had, I said I had a nickname for one of my friends who had big ears at school. We called him Earwolf, you know, cruel buggers at school. So, Airwolf was a fantastic, futuristic helicopter series that ran from 1984 to 1987. And it starred the one and only Jean-Michael Vincent. And I love Ernest Borgnine. I thought he's fantastic, because I always remember him on Escape from New York as well, if you recall him in that as a taxi driver. And he flies, he's a military pilot that gets to fly this high-tech futuristic helicopter on, daring missions, I suppose, at the request of the CIA, doing all different missions. Sometimes he goes off key with them, and goes a bit maverick and rogue, and other times there's mission of the week. And overall, I mean, it's based around the Cold War, so you probably understand the type of movies and shows that showed America was great and the Eastern Bloc not so great as these shows always did portray. But it was just fantastic. It nailed it right, because the helicopter was just awesome. It just looked cool. It was very TVable, if you want to call it that. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just a shame that as it got to its final season, the main cast wasn't in it. Jean-Michael Vincent was only in the first episode as a secondary character to introduce the new people flying the helicopter. That was a bit lame. And when you do that, that's just a fate worse than death, isn't it? You seal any popularity of the show away, and it dies. So, but memories for yourself, Paul? Any much?
Yeah, I mean, I this is one that I would catch now and again, but probably not religiously. I mean, it was cool when you watched it. I mean, this was the period when I don't know whether Knight Rider came first, but it seemed to be everybody was trying to recapture Knight Rider, but with different vehicles, wasn't it? Yeah. So you'd have like Knight Rider on a bike, or and this was sort of like the equivalent with the helicopter. But helicopter was pretty cool, and I've been watching a couple of the episodes. And yeah, I think it still holds up as a TV show. It's quite entertaining.
The acting is ham, retrospectively.
Yeah,
isn't it?
but that's what you want from 80s TV shows. Yeah, you want hammy. But yeah, no, it's cool. And as you say, what fantastic title screen, title music. Yeah, just awesome. Yeah.
So what about the game itself then? So obviously that was by Elite again.
Yeah, you can always... They never left you in any doubt, did they, with all the Elite games? Because it was like always at the bottom of the screen, the bottom
Take
right.
Take up half the frickin' screen with your logo, why don't you? Just give me more bloody game down there.
Well, I guess it was a good way of making... Because I guess it was... Obviously, the smaller you'd make the game window, the more you could do. Yeah. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, but gameplay-wise, this isn't actually that bad, really. It's one of the better ones. You're basically in the helicopter, as you'd expect. It doesn't look particularly like the... I suppose if you squint a bit, it looks a bit...
It's like a helicopter.
It's a helicopter.
Fine.
And the idea is, it's very cavernous, isn't it? You're flying round, you're taking out the caverns, you're dodging things like radar pings from like satellite dishes. But the idea is you've got to go round and sort of like rescue guys, isn't it, from these caverns? Yeah. And I quite enjoyed it, and flick switches to sort of like progress your way through. I was quite surprised because obviously the one that I played probably more is the arcade one. But this is quite a different beast, isn't it, really, to the arcade? So it's I quite liked it. I quite liked the... it reminded me more of Cybernoid or something like that. That sort of cavernous sort of shooter. Still quite frustrating, very easy to crash, and you're constantly fighting, I suppose, as you would with a helicopter. You can't touch the sides, which is a bit annoying. Yeah. you know, particularly when it's like landing, you're like, why can't I land? Why am I blowing up in pieces? But yeah, you're always constantly sort of trying to fight the controls to line up. Even shooting, we get like right at the beginning the blocks, isn't it? Just getting it lined up to shoot them. Yeah. I mean, you get the hang of it eventually, but it took some going. But yeah, I mean, as I played through it more and more, I got quite into this one. It's quite good, quite a challenging one, but quite entertaining as well. Definitely one of the better games of the night. Yeah. And what do you think of this one?
Yeah, well, I owned this back in the day, and I was absolutely shit hot at it, mate. Right, I was able to play this with dexterity and precision, time dodging the bullets coming at you. Obviously, this is on the Spectrum version I'm on about, and rescue the scientist and complete the bloody game. And it's like, nowadays I struggled like crazy to play this because I have never came back to this since owning it and playing it back in the day. It's one of these things I've just never bothered firing up for nostalgic purposes on for any reason. So it was good to come back to it. So I did get a huge rush of nostalgia that I don't get as often these days, in the same way of, whoa, I've not seen this in years feeling, you know what I mean? But yeah, I still really enjoyed it. It is tricky, as you said. You're forever fighting gravity, pulling the helicopter down. Depends on if you move in a forward motion, the helicopter, like a helicopter does, it tilts. So you're only shooting diagonally down, and that's what makes it more frustratingly hard, isn't it? Because you're trying to shoot blocks that are directly horizontally in front of you, and you end up missing them because of that. The Commodore version, superb as well, absolutely fun.
I preferred it on the Commodore version, I have to say. I mean,
now, the Commodore version is very clear. If you've never played Fort Apocalypse, that came out in 1982 on the Atari 8-bit, it was also released on the Commodore, I think maybe a year later, but it was obviously on the Atari 8-bit first. You'll see where they ripped the game off. A long, exploratory, cavernous, industrial complex with things flying at you left, right and centre, and that's what it takes that. There's lots of games like that, you know what I mean? I really enjoy them, to be honest, whether it be, you know, even games like Exile on the BBC Micro or whatnot. It's just, I love getting lost in a labyrinth of, you know, you don't know where you're going until you learn the map of the game. There's multiple hazards everywhere, so it's not flick screen. Just, it's like you've got this feeling that everything is happening simultaneously in the one area, even though it's off screen. You do know it's kind of happening, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So, as much as I like the Spectrum version, and it got a crash smash back in the day, I wouldn't go as far as necessarily giving it that, but it was fun, it was playable, and it was something quite different, to be honest, and that's what, you know, you have to give it credit for. It plays like no other game. And here we are with the Commodore one. Okay, as I said, I mean, it's only recent years I came across Fort Apocalypse, you know, didn't see that back in its time. But really enjoyable. The fluidity and the control of the helicopter on the Commodore version is much easier as well.
Yeah, it's definitely one I would recommend.
Really good bloody game, and this is about as strong as it gets tonight, folks. You know, if you're going to play one recommendation, this is the one. No, there's some others. It's all right. It's not as bad as we're making out to be, maybe. But I really liked this. I had great fun playing this because I'd never played it on the Commodore before, and therefore just blew me away a bit. Just right, this is what I want in a Commodore game. That's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, no, the 664 version's awesome, but there is something beautiful about the Spectrum version. It's a slightly smaller craft, but of course you've got that brilliant Spectrum colour palette, which looks a bit more enticing. I will say I did try the Amstrad version, and that's actually okay in its own way as well. Really, it's got very nice sort of clear, bright visuals. Cool. The helicopter was quite cool. A little bit slow with the sort of like it was more your flick scrolling type thing, but I thought for all of them really, for an Elite game and license, it's actually pretty strong. And of course, it's done by Richard Wilcox, who also did another helicopter game that we might mention.
Yes.
So,
well, it's an interesting
yeah.
thing. I can tell you that a bit further when we get to it. So
okay, that'd be
you
cool
may not
to
know.
No.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to say on that?
No, I mean, I didn't get a chance to try the sequel. I saw there was a sequel. Is that any
No,
good?
it's all right. I just stick with the original.
Yeah, no, but I quite enjoyed this one. It's, as I say, for me it was a helicopter cybernoid type style game, and I quite enjoyed it. And you're saying it's a bit like did you say Apache? What was it called?
Fort Apocalypse.
Fort Apocalypse. That was that an Atari 8-bit one.
Yeah. So try
Yeah,
that out. Yeah.
Because I quite like the concept of the game.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. It's really good.
Yes.
Okay, on to the next TV show then. Listen to this music. Now that really does take you down to the Miami coastline, doesn't it? I think when you go to Miami, you expect to hear Crockett's theme and whatnot else. Yes, it's Miami Vice. Very iconic TV show following the two undercover cops, Crockett and Tubbs. And obviously starring Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas as the very, nicely dressed, rich-looking undercover cops. Now, basically the premise of the TV show, if no one's ever saw it, is there aren't rich cops, which a lot of people got the impression of. No. All the money and wealth stolen from drug dealers and impoundment, their captain gave them access to all the vehicles and the clothes and all the rest, and money, even use the money that they impounded, so therefore they can go undercover looking like rich dealers or whatever else to get into that underworld, basically, but by using crime's money. So that was the premise. And it was very cool, it was very slick, the music, it was just stuff really, it's quite sedate. A lot of the episodes were shot at night as well, not just during the day, so it was just the whole synthwave music, and it encapsulated the whole culture of that, to be honest. And there was twats that tried to dress like that and they just look stupid, but I really enjoyed this as a TV show, and I really didn't take to the later years Michael Mann movie adaptation of it. It didn't seem to capture it in the same way. So yeah, there's something quite special about this one that I just loved. It was on later at night, and I just loved coming home and watching it and chilling out to it. It was really good.
Yeah,
What
no.
about yourself?
I mean, Miami Vice was one. I mean, obviously I've caught bits here and there, but it was one that I didn't really watch as a kid. I guess I was just that bit younger that just it was on too late. But it's cool, isn't it? I mean, you've got that. Is it a Ferrari or what's the car?
The Spider he's driving.
Oh, was it a Spider? Yeah.
The Spider, yeah.
Yeah, they're great. They're great actors that sort of bounce off each other well, isn't it? And yeah, it's definitely epitomises the 80s. So it's it's another one that I think I need to spend time after I finish with the Dukes of Hazzard. I'll try and watch a bit more of the Miami Vice and enjoy the cheesiness.
Oh, it's good. It really is. I mean, it ran for 5 seasons, so that was from 1984 right through to 89. So that's a good run, and it shows the popularity of the show. You know what I mean? So, and Jan Hammer's theme music's just fantastic.
So iconic, isn't it?
Yeah. So really good. And then, though, it's onto the game, I'm afraid. You want to describe this absolute pile of steaming turd that it is?
Well, on the face of it, it should be really quite good. It
should be Grand Theft Auto Miami before bloody...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's overhead, city map. This is the main bit, and you've got your sports car. I mean, it all looks quite good. I mean, it's done by Dawn Drake and Simon Butler. I think did some of the bits
for the Spectrum,
as well.
Yeah.
For the Spectrum, and the idea is that you drive around and you hear about sort of like crimes that are happening, and you've got to go up to the relevant place, and then there's a sort of running left and right, and it's quite good with this. It comes with large flashing as it subdue, talk, arrest. You know, you can decide how you're going to deal with them. Are you going to go in heavy, or are you going to just talk to them and try and bribe them, or what have you? And that bit's, it's got nice ideas, but again, it's just like, why couldn't they get the fundamentals right? I mean, the car handles like a shopping trolley to the point where you can't even turn the corner. You want to be like lamping around these corners like you see in the movies and the TV show. You don't want to be going around like it's like a granny, like 1 mile an hour. And you have to just to get round the place. And then it improves a little bit with the shooting bits. I mean, but they're only very small sections, but full of nice ideas with this, but terribly executed is how I would describe it. And I remember being so disappointed with this. As I say, it was on that Screen Heroes compilation I got with my Spectrum Plus too. And very disappointing. But I guess once you get used to the controls a little bit, well, that's the other thing that's annoying, is that the other cars, if they hit you, rather than sort of ding you immediately explode as well. So you can't even if you're going slow, you could be like game over. What do you think of it?
It's utter bollocks. I mean, this is the same year, so this is 86 it came out for the Commodore and the Spectrum, but the same year that Turbo Esprit came out. And that just sums it up completely for me. The same, pretty much similar idea, except for going in buildings and fighting or subduing criminals. It doesn't look nice to the eye. It's very basic to start off with. It looks like it's not that it's rubbish graphics. The graphics look like from an earlier period of both the computers. So where you play the Commodore version, where you play the Spectrum version, it plays more like 1983, 1984. That's its trouble. You're right, the control of the cars on both versions is so frustrating that you spend more time...
It ruins the game.
It ruins the game, yeah. It's too tight to go around corners. The other traffic's a pain in the arse, because when you stop to go inside a club or a hotel, there's a strange control mechanic where you have to tell it to stop driving and then choose which driver's side or passenger side you... So basically, do you want Crockett or Tubbs to go into the building, right? So you can choose with left and right. So the time you're faffing about with the controls and screwing that up, a car came along and crashed into your parked car, and it's like you're sent back to the start. You respawn at City Hall, and it's like, this is a pain in the arse. Most of the places, so you have to drive about the city to get... There's $1 million deal going down. That's the main premise. And you have to drive about the city, going into the clubs and the bars to find people you can talk about to get more information on the shipment, which leads you, on fetch quest to go to other clubs and bars. It's bloody tedious playing with no real storyline, annoying AI cars, and another waste of license.
I think it sums it up that, I mean, I owned this back in the day, and until for the show, I didn't know there was the from the side walking bits. I'd never bothered to even get to somewhere.
Yeah, you just drove about and died, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, because and then I think I'll go and play Turbo Spree.
Yeah. At least on the Commodore version, the indoor bits are a bit more nicer looking. At least Crockett and Tubbs look like each other in their designer suits as well. But they both are running about looking like they're needing a loo, and they're just desperate to use the gents, aren't they? It's like I can't even walk right, or I'm going to let one slip. You know, it's just like, where's the bogs? No, not for me. This one, mate. It's just
it's probably poor. One of the worst. I'd say it's probably one of the worst. There's one that was more disappointing to me, but yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah. See. What a negative show this is. Right, let's have some happiness.
Remember, listeners, Kiggy chose these games. Right. Okay.
Now, who likes stuntmen? Listen to this theme tune.
Well, I'm not the kind to kiss and tell, but I've been seen with fire up. I've never been with anything less than a 9. So fine, I've been on fire with Sally Field, gone past with a girl named Bo, but somehow they just don't end up as mine. It's a death-defying life I lead. I take my chances. I die for living in the movies and TV. But the hardest thing I ever do is watch my leading ladies kiss some other guy while I'm bandaging my knee. I might fall from a tall building, I might roll a brand new car, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that made Redford such a star.
So the $6 million man decided, and you know, he's not as bionic anymore, but he's very daring. And before, you know, Tom Cruise was doing all the stunts, or Jackie Chan was a household name, we had Lee Majors as Colt Seavers, and he was a Hollywood stuntman. But not only was he that, he was a crime fighter. He just got dragged. He always fell for the damsel in distress again, or whatever story of the week it was, to get them out of the pickle. But he used his knowledge of Hollywood stunts to get them out of that jam, basically. So it was a fun show. All us cool kids watched it back in the day and really enjoyed it. It was light-hearted enough. From 1981 to 86, so that's a good run, you know. And
I thought it was just. I didn't realise it was like in the 80s. I thought it was more 70s.
No, definitely 80s. But I get you mean, because of the early start of it, Paul, being it's 81, the arse end of the 70s and the influence of that's still there. But, you know what? I enjoyed the $6 million man, but you didn't get all the storylines with just being a bit younger when that was out in the 70s. But the Fall Guy was light-hearted family entertainment, and we just all spoke about it as kids and enjoyed it, unlike that complete and utter travesty that they just made by Hollywood in the cinemas of recent. I can't stand that smug fucker's face, you know.
Well, you'll be pleased to know it bombed big time, didn't it? It didn't make money.
Did it knock the grin off his face? Probably not. But no, I did love this show. So the game itself, Paul, do you want to describe this a little to the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, essentially you're doing stunts, aren't you? Or that's how it struck me.
Yep.
So you're a little guy and you go, like, to begin with, there's like, what was the first thing? You got like the moving train, isn't it? The first thing. And there's like a bird flying around. It's very... does the job, the graphics, but the idea is you just like hop on and jump from carriage to carriage as it's going in the tunnel, and then it does basically the same thing but different items, isn't it? You get like,
that's right. It's a run along rooftops of moving flat vehicles, whether it be mine carts, whether it be tanks. It's the same thing. You've just got to lasts long enough for make enough takes for the movie that the director goes, cut, that's enough action shots now, back to the main role, thank you stuntman, piss off. That's the premise of the game. I had known this back in the day, and I thoroughly enjoyed the Spectrum version, and I did get very good at it. It requires rhythm. Once you know where to fall and how to run with the pace and the momentum of each of the levels, you do get the hang of it. And it's actually, it's basic. It really is, because the levels are offering different difficulty as you progress, but it's not really asking you to do anything else. It's nothing really to do with the TV show whatsoever. It could easily be called Stuntman and that's it, right?
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the Fall Guy. So in terms of a license, that's disappointing. It's not a good use of a license. I don't know what you could have done with the Fall Guy as a license, to be honest. That's just preposterous and silly to think you can make a game out of it. But we did get a game out of it, and it's somewhat enjoyable to a degree if you like this kind of game.
Yeah, it's one that it's one of those where you're just like, I'll just have one more go, and you do get. Once you get that rhythm, it does get addictive.
Yeah, and it shows. The Spectrum version is typically Spectrum, isn't it? It's bright visuals. It runs at a good pace. The sprite works okay, to be honest. I'm not saying it's the greatest. A lot of it remembers me of Cockatony Wolf. I never actually checked if it's the same author or not that made it, but the sound effects and the graphics look similar. But yeah, it's not too bad. I played it for a good little chunk, to be honest, and got a lot out of it. Whereas the Commodore version, oh my God.
Well, I didn't find the Commodore version. Tell us about that then.
The Commodore version, if you look it up on YouTube first, okay, you go, these carriages are moving like at 2 miles per hour. This should be easy, right? This should be... Who wrote this? This is not a fast-paced, exhilarating movie set where the stuntman's leaping from rooftop to rooftop on moving vehicles, right? Oh no, these things move like their wheels are rusty. And your character you control is a fat bastard, right? Where, I know Lee Majors put the beef on as the years went on, as we all do when we get older, but what the hell is that meant to be, that sprite? What's he meant to represent, apart from a guy that's ate all the pies? And you go, this should be easier, and because it's running at a sedate pace, it is the most frustrating and anger-inducing...
it's hideous, isn't it? It's absolutely hideous.
Shite, right?
Did they actually release this?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Punched walls, I swore and about cracked my teeth playing this, mainly because, especially that first level on the train, I could not, I repeat. So I apologise to our listeners, come viewers on the YouTube channel, I can't get past the bloody train level. The random placings of the other objects that kill you on the train, 9 times out of 10, spawn in an area where you cannot leap over it and escape. It is so annoying. And that eagle or vulture that drops, it's bigger than a bird poo, it just keeps colliding with you, and it just gets you angrier and angrier, and absolutely...
Well, I'm glad I missed that. I didn't,
hate
for some reason, my collection didn't have the full on the C64, so... Oh, my word, well, I'm glad I missed that. But yeah...
awful.
Yeah, Spectrum-wise, it's not... it's average, but there is something that's compelling, isn't it, that draws you... Mm-hmm. Can I get that little bit better, that little bit further? It's kind of like, probably a bad analogy, but things like Moon Patrol, isn't it? It's that kind of like, once you get the rhythm of it, it's quite fun, and you always want to just see that little bit more. And there's enough little things that are thrown past you, isn't it? Whether it's like sometimes you're on boats, isn't it, and things like that. And
the idea is okay. And when you do complete the cycle and it loops round again, there's other objects on the moving vehicles that you have to jump over. So there could be it's like the chimney vent on the train will be sticking up every other carriage, and then a spade on the minecart, and just various things to make the level just that little bit more tougher. So it's pretty decent that way. There's enough on the Spectrum to play, but never, ever play that Commodore version. In fact, I don't want to ever see it again. I mean, I'm even looking at, you get the mini reviews on Lemon 64 from it. It's called The Fall Guy because your guy is going to be falling a lot to his death, a bloody lot. There is so much hatred for this game because the game hates you too. That is correct. The game does hate you. So that chap that done a mini review nailed it in that small wording there. It's just awful. It's frustrating to the end. Horrible, horrific gameplay. Nasty. Like, never play. And you know what everybody's going to be doing now? This is the one they're going to play, isn't it? Not the other ones.
Exactly, the C64 one. We'll let them share in the pain.
Yeah, share the pain with us. So, yeah, good TV series that I enjoyed, but the game and the Spectrum, yeah, decent. Got fond memories, but no, definitely not for the Commodore.
No, you were holding out for the Ryan Gosling version, weren't you?
Pretty boy wank shite. Right. Honestly.
I still don't understand because in my mind, I'll be honest, I've never really watched The Fall Guy, and in my mind, it's not. When you think of all the 80s shows, it's not one that's at the top of everybody's list. So it seems a real strange thing to make a Hollywood movie over.
I know it's a bit niche, yeah.
And then you put like somebody that. Okay, it was in that Barbie, but he's known more as he's not like an action hero, is he, Ryan Gosling?
Well, he was obviously in that new Blade Runner movie, which I thought was a pile of shite as well. Just watch Harrison Ford be a grumpy old man and act for cash. He's another person that can get.
He doesn't have to act to be a grumpy old man.
No, he's just a miserable shitty guy. He can get right in the sea. And what's the one? It was actually decent with Ryan Gosling. He was a driver, a crime driver, a getaway driver.
Oh, I know the one you mean. Yeah,
that was reasonable. That's because he barely spoke in it, So, but no, it's not for me. Not at all.
Cool. Shall we go on to the next game?
Yeah. So, as you rightfully said, let's get Knight Rider and just put on two wheels and make a motorbike. It's Street Hawk.
This is Jesse Mock, an ex-motorcycle cop injured in the line of duty. Now a police troubleshooter. He's been recruited for a top-secret government mission to ride Street Hawk, an all-terrain attack motorcycle designed to fight urban crime, capable of incredible speeds up to 300 miles an hour and immense firepower. Only one man, Federal Agent Norman Tuttle, knows Jesse Mock's true identity. The man, the machine, Street Hawk.
Another one of these action shows that came out in 1985. I only got one season, had 14 episodes, and that was it.
I was surprised at that. In my mind, I saw a lot of episodes of Street.
Yeah, but it's the same as Mr. Ben. How many episodes do you think that had? You thought it had hundreds, and it's only got 10 or 12 or something. You know what I mean? And you're like, what does it? Yeah, so it's another vigilante type motorbike. You're protagonist on the motorbike. Jesse Mack, he was a police officer. He had a big accident thing, and but he's been taken on board to drive this futuristic, turbo boosting motorbike that can shoot missiles, take big death-defying leaps, and go fast as anything. And we thought it was cool. It was
so cool. I love the booster things. They're just like blasting of the ground, and that lift him up to do these fantastic jumps over the cars. Yeah, really awesome. Good. So you got any other? I mean, you're obviously keen on it. Any particular fun memories of it? What, the TV show? Yeah, no. I mean, this is one along with Knight Rider. I was really into sort of these sort of cool whether it was a car or a bike, and it was all futuristic. It had all those exciting buttons that you could press that did all these different things, and it was just a fun, entertaining ride. So TV show wise, it was really, really good. And so this was one that I was really excited when I saw that this was in the pack. Mm-hmm. I was really excited to see the game. But I mean, what did you think of the TV show?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, it was short-lived and never really appeared again after we watched it. So it was one of these phenomenons that we all chatted about at school. Very brief. It was like a flash in the pan, wasn't it? Very briefly, very quickly. It was like, I suppose, Automan as well, if you remember Automan.
I never watched Automan, but that's another one on my list.
Yeah, and Manimal as well. They were all flash in the pan shows.
I'm sort of coming to realise, again, because like the main TV, that was always my mum and dad's space. It was very much, they were addicted. But particularly my mum was like addicted to watching soaps, so that's what they always had. So I spent most of my time playing either video games, like doing my own entertainment, or occasionally I'd watch on the black and white TV upstairs, or I'll be outside, playing in the woods and building dens and whatnot.
You never went outside and played outside. You just stayed in and played games. The listeners all know this.
But actually, I went out quite a bit as a kid, because it was in the countryside and building dens and reading comics. It was.
You lived in an house and a very big house in the country.
But I mean, I quite like going out. It's just living in Birmingham now. It's like I don't want to go out anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
I've driven up on the elevated motorway, driving past through Brum, and I'm like, oh my God, what have you done? What have we done? Don't stop. The Driskys live here.
But I thought this was one that I was most excited for when I got my Spectrum Plus 2, because I was a big fan of the game. Big fan of the TV show. I was quite excited to play this. So do you want to describe it to our listeners? Yeah,
it's a kind of top-down, I suppose, spy hunter-like game where you're driving the motorbike to get to crime sprees that are going on. So you get a message that there's a crime happening, and you have to there's no corners to turn like on Miami Vice. You're just on a straight highway, with lots of cars. You have three options. You can, once you get up to speed, because it's like, come on, it's maybe the world's fastest motorbike, and it gets out of the armchair like I do at a 50-year-old man these days. So you can either swerve and avoid. The minute you collide into a vehicle, it doesn't destroy it, just slows you down, and that's where the problem is. You've only got so much fuel, so you have to get to the crime before your fuel runs out. Or you can leap, which is fantastic, and you got a good feeling of height that the motorbike's leaping just by the subtlety of the shadow moving to the left, doesn't it? It's just a small thing, but it gives you that feeling. Or you can just shoot and annihilate everything in your way, even though it gives you a rouse for not shooting innocent citizens. But there are bad guy cars that shoot bullets at you as well, and you have to watch your engine doesn't overheat and that, so you can only use your turbo or leap so many times. You have to let it cool down. So
it's a shame, isn't it? Because the turbo is what you need, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then you get to the crime scene, and the mass robbers are all just running out the store to their van, and you just have to kill them all. It's excellent.
It's not very hero-like.
Not at all. He's not like the TV show where you just got to kick up the bum and handcuffed, and that's you. I said, no, right, you're getting to do headshots and just kill them all. And if any men escape, because they keep running out in a random fashion, if any get back to that van, you have to repeat that level again, right, before you can progress to the next one. And that's the frustrating part. So if anything you're going to do right is your sharpshooting skills have to be accurate. The trouble is, you then go to the other levels and you just get a scenery change left and right. So you'll get, cityscape, then palm trees, I suppose, and then a busier city with helicopters and whatnot. There's not that much a graphical change, to be honest. The same cars, same motorbikes, same pickup trucks, same bad guys cars, And then you go to the next crime spree, and it's the same bloody wine shop on every freaking level with Joe's Wines, and they just winos. I mean, they're just in for our buck fast. All right,
I know it's a
Jimmy.
bit harsh killing them for
Yeah, bottle of
just
Bucky.
winos getting you some wine. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? I always called this game Shitehawk, right? But it wasn't as bad as my memory
But
served.
that's the same thing. I hated and if, as I said at the top end of this episode, if you'd asked me what is the worst game of the night, I would have said this. In my mind, it was like far worse than anything else. I just hated it as a kid, and it was because I guess I didn't feel it was like Street Hawk, and I was so excited because I'm really quite a fan of Street Hawk.
Yeah.
And I had to like double check and think, well, am I playing the subscription version or something like that? No, this is the one that I had, the Ocean one. I didn't even know about the other one out there. And it plays pretty well, actually. I mean, it's a bit slower than I would like. I mean, the turbo, you need to bash.
It's not even noticeable, really, is it?
Yeah, but I mean, it gets to a reasonable pace, and it's very clear looking graphics.
The graphics are nice. I do like them. I wish there's a few other top-down kind of racing games that I wish took this kind of aesthetic, to be honest.
Yeah, and the shadows on the cars are really good, and you say that gives you the sense of... And jumping over the cars is pretty cool. The shooting section, it's okay. It breaks up the action. It's not the most... it's
not
more
like the mini
frustrating.
games as perhaps seen on RoboCop or Untouchables or like that. It's okay. It does break it up. I just wish for a different graphical background. Rather than just a wine shop. Then it was a jeweler's or something, or just subtle changes like that. But it is what it is. It's not a terrible game by any means. There's great room for improvement, but it was caught up in development hell. This was the trouble with this game, and it really didn't see a release until 1986, which is too late for a game like this by that point. Now, because of that, the Commodore version was axed because of this delay as well, right? Just too much internal politics with this one, and it did come out in Amstrad, which is really similar to the Spectrum version with Amstrad's own unique colour palette. You know what I mean? Some really nice touches. It's really good in Amstrad, to be honest. There's some differences when you shoot the cars, they spin round. There's tyres on the road. There's brilliant sirens on cop cars and that spinning round, rotating. It's visually really impressive on the Amstrad. To be honest, it's worth checking that out.
Yeah, it was quite good, the Amstrad version.
Yeah, but there was a commitment to K's catalogue and Crash subscribers. If you subscribe to Crash, you would get a free game, and it was advertised as Street Hawk. And K's catalogue ready for their Christmas, because they would release... That's the trouble with the catalogues back in the day, for those that don't remember them. You would get the Christmas one in about late autumn time. Therefore, you can drool and salivate over the Christmas, the games that you wanted, didn't you, Paul? Any of the Littlewoods catalogue, there's tons of them. But K's was another big catalogue like that. And obviously the game was advertised, so the K's were putting pressure on Ocean to get it released. So therefore, they had to rely on the talents of like Joffa Smith, and that, boys, we need you in a very, very, very short window of I think it was something like 3 weeks or something to make us a Street Hawk game. I mean, Joffa Smith, wizard, we've sang his praises on a great number of games, haven't we, Paul, over the years that he's released for Ocean and Imagine. Now, this Subscribers Edition, as it's more commonly known as these days, oh my God, what on earth is this? Basically, you have a jousty jetpack style game where you just have to drive the motorbike about, leaping in the air, jumping on the platforms, shooting enemy helicopters, then collecting the hostages that have fallen out, or enemy motorbikes come out and you have to shoot them further. And that's it. And each level that you move on, the platforms may be in a different position, but the gameplay dynamics do not change. Now, I'm not saying that, given more time, that this could have been an excellent arcade title, not with the Street Hawk name, perhaps not even under the Ocean label, you know what I mean? Because it runs at a good space. It's got the kind of sound effects that you'd expect from Ultimate, and the way the jetpack laser shoots from your motorbike. It is reminiscent of a kind of early Ultimate game, isn't it? But apart from that, there's nothing there to play.
No, it's. I would have been very disappointed if I had that with the games catalogue. I mean, thankfully, that was one that I never discovered until for the show. Really, it was. I knew the Ocean game, but then the game, like I mentioned, I was like pretty perturbed with the with even the Ocean game for some reason as a kid. I mean, of course, it was written. The Spectrum version was written by Paul Owens, so he's a big deal, really, isn't he? He
big
did
Ocean player,
like the Kong, Mr. Wimpy Hamburger game, Daley Thompson Decathlon, didn't he?
Yeah.
Hunchback 2, Whizball, he did the port of. Short Circuit, did some of the stuff on Bad Dudes and things like that. Yeah,
he's mainly, is he not the graphics artist though?
Oh,
mainly?
on those, yes, yeah, you're right. Sorry, yeah.
Because it was Christian Urquhart that had done Decathlon, but Paul Owens did the graphics. So I think
he would have done the graphics, yeah. So I'd only just quickly looked, but yeah. But no, I'm looking at the Amstrad version. That does seem
looks fun, doesn't it?
Better, yeah. It looks really quite good.
I think it actually looks like it runs at a slightly faster pace as well. Normally, that's good. You see, normally you get a sloppy Spectrum port by certain software houses that just directly ported it across to the Amstrad, and then it suffered from, because it wasn't optimised, it would suffer from severe slowdown. But because it's made with its own visuals and some elements of the game, even the shootout scene is more violent. The guys don't wear balaclavas and they're shooting at you. If you've seen that clip there, so it looks pretty decent. So I think I'll give that a further go, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks quite cool. Yeah, no, I'm glad to have played this one. It's as I say, my memory of it was pretty horrendous. So it was nice to be pleasantly surprised. It was one of the few that I felt pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, good. I'd played the subscribers edition first. I got a copy off my mate, and it wasn't till car boot sale that I got it in. Just a bundle of games that a boy was selling in a box. For a £5 and get a whole plethora of games. When those were the days when you were able to get things like that cheap at car boot sales, and then I got the disappointing. No, it's not disappointing. The much delayed, because obviously the subscribers edition met its magazine fulfillment, so that came out in '85. But the one we're on about and singing its praises is the 1986 version. So cool. Okay, Paul. On to the next one. So, if I hum the tune, can you click your fingers? Doodle-doo-dood. Doodle-doo-dood. Enough of that, anyway.
Maybe a clap would be better.
That's it. Well, you've guessed it. It's Addams Family.
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together ooky, the Addams Family. Their house is a museum, when people come to see 'em, they really are a scream, the Addams Family.
Neat. Sweet. Petite.
So get a witch's shawl on, a broomstick you can crawl on. We're gonna pay a call on the Addams Family.
Now, technically speaking, yes, the Ocean game is based on the movie, or very loosely. And because it's loosely and not really anything to do with the movie, it's just as much to do with the TV series. And the TV series itself was based on 1920s and 1930s comic sketches that you went, you know what, it's a good game that deserves to be mentioned, and the Addams Family show was very iconic, and we would never have had the movie if it wasn't for the vision of the 1960s TV series. Now, most people will know it. It's a gothic sitcom, isn't it? That's what the class it is, the kids are calling it. And it was a brilliant comedy based around the cookie spooky Addams Family, Gomez being the head of the house, Morticia his wife, Wednesday, the daughter, you've got, the creepy hand, it
Cousin
running about.
It,
yeah. It was absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It was a great black and white 1960s series with the theme tune is fantastic, isn't it? There's no denying that. They nailed that right. It's singable, it's catchy, everybody knows the words, and I really enjoyed it. And even though it predates us, it got runs for decades, didn't it? And it could be on. It was like shows like Bewitched, and that was on one night, just around about tea time, and then you would get.
They're all great shows.
They're all great shows. They were done
entertaining.
great. Yeah, it was very entertaining.
I mean, if ever one happens to be on, I'll always put it on.
Yeah. It only got 2 seasons. Okay, there's 32 episodes a season, so that's a long run, especially back in the 60s, all were on for half an hour each. But, so that's running from 64 to 66. But it's unforgettable, really entertaining, and I think there's references in popular culture today. I mean, any weird family gets classed as Addams Family, don't they? They're fucking weird, it's a fucking Addams Family. So really good. But as you said, fond memories yourself, yeah?
Yeah, no, I really like with the TV show, and obviously, you're right, this was when it hit the stratosphere with the films, but yeah, I mean, all in black and white, I think. I don't think they did any colour ones, did they, later?
Not to my knowledge, no.
No, but it was, I mean, it was always this same old trope, wasn't it? It was that they had a different outlook on life, and that was the humour on everything, wasn't it? So, hurting each other or doing whatever they were doing was what they thought was being nice. But light-hearted comedy. But yeah, going with the games, because of course you chose the 8-bits, didn't you?
Yes.
Because most people will know the 16-bit version,
Which are fantastic.
And they're the ones I know and love. But I was quite surprised. I've never actually played the Spectrum version, because why would I have played the Amiga one? But I didn't realise the reason why I should have played it is because it's totally different, isn't it? The 8-bits, totally different game, and very well put together, really. So, do you want to describe it a bit more of the game?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you control Gomez, and it's just a rescuing thing. You have to rescue a member of his family, and that gives a very, very loose and basic premise to the game. But it's an excellent platformer where it's multi-screen, and there's lots of hazards, skeletons running about, things that electrify you, other creatures, demons and ghouls all running about. And it's a tricky platform, but what I like about it is you can go through doors, and that acts as your save point in the game. So you're not always returned to the point where you die, you're the screen where you first entered, if you know what I mean. Like most platform games, you're sent back to the archway where you entered that series of screens. So it is a labyrinth searching the whole manor, and it's grounds searching for ways to rescue your family. But what an enjoyable game. Obviously the theme tune's playing in both the Commodore and the 128K Spectrum version.
Yeah, because did it only come out on the 128K?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking 1992 this came out, so it's really at the arse end, one of the last games commercially released for the Spectrum. So it'll be interesting to see how well the sales actually did for it. But I think graphically on both versions, let's stick with the Spectrum first. Absolutely bloody colourful. The detail, the sprite work is superb. Really like it looks. It does look like what games look like at this period. People had maxed. Well, we thought they'd maxed their skill set in making Spectrum games look and sing good, until obviously these amazing Russian coders of recent times can really make even better, better games. But it's still marvellous to play today. Really enjoyable, really challenging. It's a tough platformer, I will say that.
It is, yeah.
It really likes to punish you. Not many lives. Another game I actually fired up the pokes with just to progress further, to have infinite lives and just to explore the mansion. I mean, there's spikes that come up from the ground, things that leap in the air, and it's all about...
You definitely need the lives. I mean, quite generous, but you definitely need the infinite lives.
Yeah. It's just a tough game to play, but it's because we're so used to rushing into screens. Sometimes when you enter the screens in this one, take your time, study the landscape and decide how you're going to attack it, and you'll do better for it. But there's just great locations, out in the grounds, in the greenhouse, if you want to call it that, the botanical greenhouse, up the loft, just other areas in the mansion. It's brilliant. It really is. Commodore version, equally stunning graphical wise. It utilises. I think it utilises the colour palette well. The sprite work is marvellous on it. I think the jump mechanic is slightly less janky on the Commodore version. I found it just a bit more playable, truth be told.
I found it was more playable. I mean, there's something always about the Spectrum palette that I love. But,
the Spectrum palette's gorgeous in it, and there's just lots of variety in all the rooms, and it just makes it brilliant to play. I certainly never played this by this point, because I'd given up. 91, I think it was. I gave up my Spectrum, just so, and I certainly wouldn't have wasted any more money, because it was time to move on to the Amiga by this point, wasn't it? So it'd be interesting hearing from any of our listeners if anybody actually did get this back in the day on the Commodore or Spectrum. But what a marvellous... I'm not saying it's the best game, but I just had great fun, because I'm a platform game sucker. I mean, I'm a right sucker for it, because I've been looking at the reviews, and Crash gave it good reviews. I didn't read what Zap gave it, but certainly kind of Lemon 64 reviews, it's middling reviews. Not everyone liked it. Just seems a bit of a mediocre platform game. There are better games, but no, I think it's pretty decent.
Yeah, but I liked it. Very challenging. You needed to put the lives on. The Spectrum, I always just like the colour palette. You're right, the C64 played, I think, better mechanically. Yeah. The Amstrad version wasn't too bad as well. Very bright and colourful. Felt very much like the jumps on the Spectrum version. But yeah, no, I thought... Yeah, I was really, really impressed, because I'd just assumed it was going to be like an inferior version of the 16-bit version, where thankfully they did their own thing. That's right.
So we've got two decent Addams Family, no, not two, but you know what I mean, they're the same game on the Spectrum and Commodore, but so you've got a 16-bit version and an 8-bit version, and if you're a fan of Addams Family games, you can play them both.
Yeah, I mean the boss bits, like when you rescue an individual, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Because you get like the countdown. Yeah. You have to survive basically for the countdown, which is a bit weird, because I lost a lot of life assuming I had to attack things. When you don't, you actually just have to avoid things.
Yeah.
But,
maybe if we read the instructions, it would maybe tell us.
Well, I didn't read instructions. Are you mad?
But yeah, no.
Yeah, no, I was pleasantly surprised with this one, actually.
Good.
Pleasantly surprised.
I'm glad you
and good renditions of the music.
Yeah.
On all three versions.
It does get a bit repetitive, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but what are you going to do for this period? I would have been, if I still had my Spectrum at this period, I would have been blown away with it.
Definitely. That's the kind of game you would have wanted, wasn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. Right, well, speaking about theme tunes and speaking about 1960s sitcoms, listen to this tune. Yes, it's the Munsters. Now, another absolutely iconic black and white.
It did go to colour at the end.
It did go into colour in the end, that's right, yeah. But
mostly known as black and white.
Starring the fantastic Fred Gwynne, who was even more brilliant in Pet Sematary, I thought. He was really good in that. Everyone is cast well in the Munsters family, and Herman Munster, just the Frankenstein's monster with his happy family, and everybody's scared of them, but you obviously have their niece Marilyn, who's inverted commas normal human. Are you allowed to say that these days? And she isn't fazed by them. She adores and loves her quirky family. So it's not too different in some ways from the Addams Family, but another absolutely enjoyable show. To be honest, some of the humour remembered me of the kind of Flintstones elements, that kind of humour and that, you know what I mean? Cast well, and 1313 Mockingbird Lane will be a street, you know, in everybody's memories. I wish there's a place called that. But really good memories yourself of it, yeah?
I love, in fact, in many ways, I watched and preferred the Munsters to the Addams Family when it was a TV show. I just saw, you know, the Grandpa Vampire and the Herman Monster, you know, as I say, just how they all carry themselves. There seemed a bit more variety in many ways than the Addams Family.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I was a big fan of the TV show, and therefore very excited for the game.
Yeah. And it only ran 2 seasons as well. But that's 70 episodes.
70 episodes, that movie, yeah, because I've definitely, this is one that I've definitely in the past sort of like binge watched my way through. Yeah, and obviously caught lots of episodes on reruns when it was. I do miss that with just as an aside, the TV flipping that you just don't do anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, when it was like on live TV. I mean, I don't even have live TV plugged in, but now it's just like, I guess you're doing the equivalent, but on Netflix. But just that, I miss that, going into the middle of a TV show or a film, and just watch it from that point, because that's all you could do.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, no, I watched a lot of the Munsters, and yes, still very much a fan. Unfortunately, it's never, you know, it had that awful attempt recently, wasn't it? Was
it Rob Zombie did it?
Rob Zombie, and it was horrendous. And yeah, it's a shame that they haven't had the same success in recreating. But then you're never going to find the actors that, you know, they're only going to do pastiches of the fantastic actors. Yeah. But very excited for the game on its release.
So the game, I was excited. I mean, I bought this when it came out because I loved the TV show.
It was a budget game as well, wasn't it? I think, yeah.
Yeah, it was a budget label, that's right. But I never even heard of the label before. It was called Again, the software house. And to be honest, looking at them, what did they do? Well, they did Gilbert, Escape from the Planet Drill. Cool. The Munsters and Operation Hormuz, whatever that is, and you know, Australian Rules Football. So not really much titles to their name, but this one I was excited for, just because it tied in with the Munsters, and in the 128K version, even though it did work, unlike the Addams Family on the 48K, it came with the cool theme tune, you know, as well as the Commodore version.
It's a really good rendition of the theme tune.
It's a very good rendition of it, but both whether it's the AY playing it or the Sid playing it, it's good. I mean, do you want to describe the game a little?
Right, yeah. So with this, you start off with Lily, the mum of the family, and lots of monsters coming at you. You have to like shoot them. All pretty standard fare with your magic, and you going from like room to room. And the idea is you just gotta find the flashing objects to collect, and then you basically will make your way through. Once you've solved all the puzzles and things, you'll get to the next character, which is like Grandpa, the vampire, and Herman Monster, isn't it? And it's more of the same. But what's great about it is the graphics in it, the characterizations of both the main characters, but also all the monsters you come across are really well depicted, and each room is very distinctive. I was quite smitten with this, given that it was only a budget game, so you didn't feel, you weren't expecting too much from it. But yeah, you just sort of like play through. I mean, one of the cool things is as you progress, you got, like I say, the Herman Monster and Grandpa. Then you get finally the boy werewolf, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever his name was.
Ralph, is it not?
Ralph, yeah, Ralph. And then rather coolly, once you got all the family together, you have like a shoot 'em up where you're controlling the dragon.
It's like a mini Thanatos.
I was really, I did play it all the way through as a kid. It was one that I sort of kept going at. It is quite, it is rock hard, but it is one of the ones that you have a fighting chance, and you as you play through, you can achieve it, isn't it? It's not impossible. The characterizations of all the main characters looked amazing, and I was really taken with this, and going back to it was just as fun. What do you think with this one?
Yeah, I mean, there's something about it. There's a decent game there, and I enjoyed playing it, because obviously the idea is zapping the other ghouls, the ghouls that you can zap, is it fills, you're capturing their essence to fill up your spells potion that then you can use against the creatures that take a bit of hitting to get them out of the way. They could be blocking a stairwell or something like that. So yeah, I think it's not it kind of looks a bit like a Pajama-Rama game, a Wallyweek game to a certain degree, not as colourful, but the sprite work is sensational on the Spectrum. Although it's good on the Commodore, I don't think the likeness is captured in the same way with that, because Lily's green, everybody's green on it. I suppose you can argue everybody's white on the Spectrum because they can't get the colours, but I don't know, there's something that's far more detailed on the Spectrum version. It's just too blocky on the Commodore for this one for me, that although great SID tune and full use of colours and all the rest, I think the Spectrum one wins out on this one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, again, have you ever played the Amiga version? That's quite good.
No, not at all, no.
Yeah, there's also an Amiga and ST version, which, but again, there's something just charmful about the Spectrum version. And of course, I'm trying to remember, the Amstrad one I think was pretty bad when I played through.
Okay.
I didn't. Well, that's probably unfair. There's probably lots of people spitting at me, but it was it just looked very ugly, I thought, on the CPC version. Yeah. But they're all essentially the same game. I was happy with it, playing my way through. My memories will always be with the Spectrum version. I think personally it's the best one. But having said that, if you wanted to just re-experience it with all the clunkiness, but don't expect the world with it, because it's
I'm not saying it's the greatest game, but it still holds up.
Yeah, I on the Spectrum, I thought it really holds up. The Amiga one, I remember rolling my eyes. Thankfully it was one that I got for free.
Right.
But you know, I guess I got that on the Amiga because I wanted to re-experience my memories of the Spectrum one. But, no, it's captures the TV show quite well, I think.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of wish there was more that did this sort of like, you know, the simple flip screens, you say, the Pajama-rama style.
Yeah.
Because I think it lends itself better to a lot of TV shows.
I think so. I wouldn't like to see the Dukes of Hazzard like that. That would be weird.
No, that's weird. And as I say, the final thing where you're controlling the dragons is so cool. But the Munsters car, isn't it? It's kinda cool.
Another iconic thing is the Munsters car, so it was good to see it in a game.
Yeah. No, awesome.
Cool. Right then, Paul. Well, how's your swashbuckling skills? You got a black mask you can put over your eyes and etch the letter Z or the letter D for Drisky in someone's
I've got a
belly?
black mask. I got a black mask I can put over my eyes, but unfortunately it's got no holes.
That's a black bin bag supplied by your local authority. Listen, keep your fixation fetishes to the bedroom, mate.
Oh no, you've got to put it on OnlyFans.
So yes, it's Zorro. Listen to the tune.
Out of the night, when the full moon is bright, comes a horseman known as Zorro. This bold renegade carves a Z with his blade, a Z that stands for Zorro. Zorro, the fox so cunning and free. Zorro, who makes the sign of the Z. Zorro, the fox so cunning and free. Zorro, who makes the sign of the Z. Zorro,
So obviously that theme tune comes from the Disney series that probably most of us saw on TV. Yes, obviously Zorro is not a TV invention. He was created in fiction novels. You know, his first book is released in 1919, The Curse of Capistrano, and then there was
Golden era of Hollywood, isn't it?
Yeah, but then you had the 1920 movie adaptation in that golden era, then The Mark of Zorro. But for us as kids, Disney serialized it and created a series in 1957 that ran for 2 seasons, starring Guy Williams as the one and only Zorro. And yes, it was a western swashbuckling thing set in Los Angeles in 1820 when it's still part of Spanish California, if you want, before Mexican independence and all that historical nonsense. Not nonsense, but you know what I mean. I'm not slagging off history. No history's nonsense. But, so that was it. And I just used to watch it, and it was like a matinee adventure with the good guy always winning and whatnot. And I always remember on this seeing something that Raiders of the Lost Ark ripped off and years later, so it must have inspired Spielberg, where Zorro went under the stagecoach and used his whip underneath it to go along the axles and then pull himself back on the back of the carriage. I remember seeing that in the 80s when it was rerun and going, that's bloody where Indiana Jones or Raiders of the Lost Ark ripped that bit off. But it's still a cool stunt, that, isn't it?
Oh,
But
definitely.
any memories of this show at all for yourself?
Do you know, I never really watched the Disney one. I mean, obviously I've seen like the golden era of Hollywood,
Yeah.
but never really watched the TV show. I guess it passed me by. But
They were only on for 20 odd minutes, and it would a lot of times would end with like if you watched even the older serialized cinema ones, where come back for the next episode, see what happens, you know what I mean? And it's like it ends in a cliffhanger, and it's like, oh, is he dead? Like Rocket Man was another thing that did that kind of thing, you know what I mean? But it was decent enough, and the theme tunes etched into our minds. That's the whole thing. So whether or not the Zorro game is tied in with the TV series, well, that's where Zorro was popularised for us. So clearly it must have been, because why would they grab onto that IP? What was running at that time in the 80s when they done it? To me, it would have been that. So that's my reason and rationale for choosing this as one of the games on this.
No, I get it.
Episode.
You love the game as well, which is
I do.
understandable.
I do. I mean, it gets its critics, and I understand where its critics come from. But there's something, it's hard to describe, quite magical about this. Now, I played this on the Commodore first, actually, at a friend's house, a friend across the road, and absolutely fell in love with it. I needed to get it for my Spectrum, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, do you want to give it a slight description, or you want me just to take
I'll
it
let
away
you
on this
describe this one, yeah.
It's another damsel in distress game where the Baron or whoever is kidnapped a maiden, and Zorro will not stand for that. He will rescue her. And it's just based in that kind of Western thing with a fort and the village around the fort. And Zorro must interact with the environment and collect objects to solve the puzzles in order to get into the bad guy's base as well, to rescue the damsel. And it's just really good. It looks ugly as hell. That's the thing about the game. You might give it a cursory glance and went, this looks rubbish, I'm not playing this. But there's something just, you know, like how I would compare this is to a bit like Bruce Lee.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Bruce Lee with the visuals, the basic visuals, but
very basic,
quite compelling
visuals.
gameplay. Yeah,
But yeah, and you just, there's no clues in what to do. The objects that you pick up are obvious what they are, right? And like the bells that you have to put up on the top tower to ring, and that's the bells tolling for someone, and therefore it opens up a shortcut down a graveyard. You know, that's how obtuse the puzzles are. But there's keys to be gotten to get to store cupboards where you pick up things like wine bottles or whiskey bottles, whatever it is. It'll probably be whiskey or tequila. It'll be tequila. And use that as a distraction for the guards to lure them to a seesaw that catapults you in the air. Because Zorro's always known for his acrobatic, almost, you know, gymnastic skills. So the game relies on that, on him bouncing on settees or trampolines. And
that cracked me up. That watching him like bounce up and down, it's like not very superhero.
Exactly that. I love it. You know what it plays like, and maybe it did come out in it first. I didn't do any much deeper research, so I apologise for that. It remembers me of an MSX type game, right? And that's not an insult. That I mean that in the most deepest of compliments. It's minimalistic gaming, but with great fun, mucking around with the environment to solve the puzzles in the game. And I adore this. And I'm not, as another game I was actually scared to go back to, because I was so fond of it back in the day that I was scared that my memories, preserved memories of it, were going to be shattered. And you know what? It didn't disappoint. I actually still really like this game, and it's important for me to go back on the Commodore version and play this as well. It's tit for tat in terms of the game. It's just its sprite differences and its colour differences, but it's the same game. It's excellent in both. To be honest, I love the way there's a bit of a bounce and a swagger to Zorro's steps on the Commodore version. It's quite. Yeah. It makes it a bit more overly theatrical. You know, it's almost like the pantomime bad guy creeping in, tiptoeing in. But I love this. I didn't manage to complete it this time round because some of the puzzles I completely forgot how to do. But I'm compelled, so I'm going to be continuing playing this afterwards.
Well, one thing, have you played the Amstrad CPC version? I thought was
no,
the
I just
best.
stayed away from that this time round.
Yeah, I actually thought it was the best one. I thought it was really colourful.
I'm going to check it just now.
Yeah, really good.
Oh wow, he runs at a good pace.
Yeah, and
this one.
he's got all the the visual swagger, and it's got
It does,
the colours. I mean,
he's falling in gravity is awful.
Yeah.
It's a janky game. I'm not taking that away from it, right? But there's just something.
It's fun with the puzzles. I mean, like I love when you get this like the metal stick, and then you get the Z for the branding iron.
The branding iron on the bull.
Yeah, and then you've got to like put that, and this is just like an early puzzle. They give people the sense you have to put them in the bellows to like then jump up and down on the bellows.
Jump up and down on the bellows, up and down to flame them.
to
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just and then poor old. I had no idea why you were branding the cow. I guess it's just to get him out of the way, but it was.
That's all it is, yeah, because he's blocking the exit.
blocking
Yeah,
the-
that's right.
But no, I mean you're probably right. The C64 one, it's got the swagger and things, but yeah, no, I quite like the Amstrad version.
Right.
But I do remember playing the Spectrum version back in the day, but probably not. It was one of those. I think it was perhaps on one of the tapes my brother had acquired with lots of other games. So I didn't probably spend the time on it. So it was good for the show to sort of like sit down and play it a bit more. It's quite a nice. Again, I thought it was one of the more inventive ones on the list.
Yeah, I think so.
Fun.
Actually, and a very good use of the license.
Definitely.
I think
Definitely, yeah, very good.
one of the best, to be honest, in that way.
Yeah. And it's a big game, really. A big game. Lots of, it keeps you going for a long while, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. You know what? I think his origins sitting on Atari 8-bit and Apple II, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an Atari 8-bit game, yeah.
Yeah, it oozes that, doesn't it, as well? I said MSX, but I'm probably more thinking along the lines of this. But yeah, no, classic, and I really enjoy it, definitely.
Yeah, good shout out with this one.
Cheers, thank you. Right, back to helicopters.
Yes.
Yes. Blue Thunder! Now, this, people will always argue the toss, what came out first, but their development time, and I'm referring to Airwolf, was at the same time. But Blue Thunder started off as a movie in 1983, and therefore popularised with that, and therefore developed into a TV series on the wake of that. So, similar system, but it was 4 people in this helicopter in Blue Thunder, the LAPD Air Support Division you followed, and their adventures on a weekly basis on this one. And it was quite a cool show, to be honest. I wouldn't say it was the best. It only got a 1-season run, so it aired in January 1984 and only got 11 episodes. So another flash in the pan type show, but for some reason, I suppose, because I think, to be honest, the time we saw it and the way our TV companies brought things over, we had probably seen Airwolf first, and it popularised the helicopter, and therefore they grabbed this bargain basement version, if you want to call it that, and we tapped into that and enjoyed it just as much as well, because it doesn't got as much cultural reference, but people do recall it, and I remember playing the game back in the day as well. But any memories of the show for you?
No, I'd never seen it. Apart from when I watched it, I was like, that is where Thunderblade nicked on the intro. The digital graphics. It's from Blue Thunder, the intro, because it's like that was about the only thing. But no, I never ever watched Blue Thunder apart from watching a few like videos to just get a sense of what it is. Yeah, it's basically it feels like an Airwolf knockoff, doesn't it? But without the budget.
But its original origins predate it.
Well, no, I didn't know all of that when you were describing, but I mean, that's how it feels. I'm not saying accurately.
Yeah. I mean, it will always be classed as a poor man's Airwolf because Airwolf was cooler, Airwolf was better, so... But anyway, the game itself then, obviously you had mentioned Richard Wilcox Software there, so if you want to give a little description to this game.
Yeah, it's basically very similar. It's less cavernous than the first, which is nice. It's more open. You're flying around. I don't know quite. You got these like compounds, isn't it? And you have to like. They're
all nuclear stations, and assigned.
Oh, is that what it's? Nuclear station. I didn't know what it was. The compounds, isn't it? And nuclear stations, and you basically fly into the compound and then disarm them, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what it is. I mean, do you want to describe it? Well, that was about as much as I could work out when I played this one.
Yeah, and each level is a nuclear base and there's scientists at it. For some reason, you need to destroy the nuclear base and rescue the said scientists for some daft reasons. So, to get from the boat, the aircraft carrier, whatever you want to call it, with your helicopter, you must obviously take off of that and fly over small islands that are heavily defended by artillery, which you cannot annoyingly destroy with your futuristic high-tech helicopter. What this is to do with the LAPD and inland missions is beyond me, to be honest, right? But that's by the by. It is more akin to Harrier Attack, to be honest, than Blue Thunder, the TV show. So you fly your helicopter to the nuclear power station. It's got a complex entanglement of defence mechanisms that you must fly in and destroy and get out before it sinks into the water, then land, pick up scientists and get back to the ship. There's 5 missions, all a similar theme, but it just gets increasingly harder. This game is solid. It is, especially on the Spectrum version. The Commodore one is a bit more playable. Similar game, but the Spectrum one's got a weird control mechanism that bugs the crap out of me, for starters. That you can either have your helicopter flying backwards and facing right, and you have to do a weird tap of the keyboard to turn it around, and more times than not, I just screwed it up and was facing the wrong direction. So you can face right, you can face towards the camera if you want. That's like you can shoot down the way, or then face left, and go in that particular direction. You need all of those orientations to battle in the power station, the nuclear power station, the plant, to destroy all its safety mechanisms and then get out and land. But because you can't destroy the artillery, and more so in the Spectrum version, these things just seem to be homed in on you with no frickin' option to avoid them. I just died and I died and I died some more playing this bloody game. It is just frickin' annoying. Beyond annoying, to be honest. That I was back on the same levels of frustrations as Miami Vice. Yet again, hot air balloons are in this game to annoy you. Whatever they're doing there. When you progress as well, there's submarines that appear and shoot missiles up at you. So, just absolutely frustrating. Beyond frustrating. It just annoyed me. So I more opted for the Commodore version.
It is a better game, I think.
Yeah, it lends itself, the Commodore hardware, good scrolling, easier to
It also
evade.
looks like a proper helicopter. It looks like a little flat blue, cartoon helicopter. Don't feel you're on a state-of-the-art attack helicopter, do you, with the Spectrum?
It's
like
the nuclear station's slightly different in how you tackle it, but For all intents and purposes, it's the same thing. It's plural on the Commodore version. There's scientists to rescue.
Yes.
But I read the word scientist, even on instructions to remember me how to play it. So on the Spectrum one, I was landing, waiting in more... You know, it's like on Jackal, right? The arcade game where you blow up a prisoner base and lots come out and go into your Jeep, right?
Yeah.
So I was expecting the same thing. Read the word scientists. So I landed there, one person got in, I'm waiting, and the hot air balloon comes and bloody kills me. So it goes...
No, that happened to me as well. It's so frustrating.
It's singular, so if you're playing the Spectrum version, it's singular. It's scientist, right, on the Spectrum, and scientists on the Commodore. But what a frustratingly hard game. I didn't hate it on the Commodore, to be honest. I did. If it was refined better on the Spectrum, I wouldn't have hated it on the Spectrum. It does play very much like an early doors game, but there's so much better games in this.
I enjoyed my time. I mean, it wasn't as bad as like Miami Vice and things, but it was the bit that really annoyed me was the hot air balloons, because as soon as you're right, as soon as you land to pick up the people, then it comes and it will drop the bomb. So it becomes
there's
really
not much
nightmare.
time. No.
Yeah, there's not a lot you can do really from when you see it. You know, you've got to be pretty on the ball to like take off and avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it was all right. I mean, I preferred Airwolf much.
Absolutely.
Like I think the TV show.
But interestingly enough, if you play Airwolf on the Atari 8-bit, it's this game. It's Blue Thunder.
Oh, cool.
Right, so there you go. It's the same game, a bit more playable as well, actually.
Yeah, but it makes a bit more sense because I mean the caverns never really made sense in Airwolf, isn't it?
No, it was good games, waste of a license, but that does, I must admit, it does feel a bit more like Airwolf, this game, you know, but licenses, they buy them and they probably spend tens of thousands of pounds on the rights to secure that deal and then hope they're going to make that money back in a shitty video game. Well, it makes
I'm sure
you
they
realise,
did because they made enough of them.
yes, death by saturation. I know. Right, another one then. That was another.
We're on the penultimate one.
Yeah, we're almost there. As miserable gets, it almost done. Right, this is a high quality TV show. I loved this series, and it is V.
Let's hear some of the music then.
So Drisky, what a tune, what a show.
Yeah.
What did you think about V?
I loved it. I mean, I remember being freaked out when you watched them eat the rats. You remember the jaw?
Was that Lydia that was eating the rat?
Yeah. But I mean, even going back to it over the years, watching them all, because of course you got there's a mini series, there's
That's
a
right.
TV, there's a film.
That's right.
All of this. Obviously, it was one of the first time I'd ever seen. Personally, I'd seen Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played obviously Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, but of course he's playing this like dippy alien in this one, and it's quite endearing.
I'm just, if I remember correctly, that's how we were introduced to him, because he didn't know the word lost, so he went about going, I'm just.
Very cute. I mean, I think it's a fantastic story. One of the better ones on alien invasions, still to this day.
Yeah, come with an innocent premise that they want water and they'll give humankind the cure to cancer. But they're lizards. I mean, David Icke has a hard-on over this show, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The lizard people have arrived, and it follows the resistance against their dominance, especially when they invent the red dust. I'm terrified of red dust to this day.
It's one that I think I need to go back and rewatch it again. I mean, I have seen it subsequent years and things, but it's that good. I think it's
The cast were good. I mean, we had Michael Ironside as one of the resistance fighters, was cool, and obviously Mark Singer that we knew from Beastmaster, which was also known as Ferret Controller. That's what it's known as in Europe. But V was brilliant. We all love V, and this should have been a quality game.
Well, it was a big deal, wasn't it? I mean, just to aside, this was advertised so hard because the film was so good. I mean, this was like full-page colour adverts in every magazine. You could not escape this game. I think out of all of them, it was probably pushed the hardest in terms of advertising.
So. Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe the next game, the final game, maybe got pushed just as hard. But yeah. Sorry. Anyway, I just wanted to get a sense to our listeners what a big deal this was on its release, and how we were all very excited. I remember buying this game. Yeah.
But unfortunately, the truth of it was something just another waste of a license. So the premise is you take control of Donovan, and it starts off you've arrived in the mothership in one of the small spacecrafts, takes you up to the craft, and you have to destroy the mothership. And all this game is a corridor wanderer with nothing else to do. One, there is none of the aliens at all. It's just the automatons, the robots, even the cleaning droids that are on the ship that try to prevent you from getting to where you want to be. And it's split into multiple levels, 5 levels I think, but you can only see 2 at a time. So you have to run onto platform pads just to beam onto the different levels, would be the best way to describe it. But there was just no enjoyment. It was dull. It was boring. It was pointless, to be honest. I mean, graphically, it's pretty decent, both on the Commodore and the Spectrum. It looks good. The scroll's excellent. I do like they did capture the aesthetics of the inside of the craft.
The run's quite good as well.
Yeah.
Like,
It's kind of a bit like Impossible
jump.
Mission. And the somersault that he does, kill him, my robots. Maybe a bit too much influence from that. But it's got a confusing control panel with all the hieroglyphs from the aliens' language that you have to decipher. So when you need to open the codes for the doors, you have to go through some weird logic
painful,
puzzle
isn't it? that
pisses me off to no end, that you have to get all the shapes the same, the symbols the same. So it's like a linear Rubik cube and some bit nastier, and I absolutely hated it.
It just slows down the action and not fun. And that's the thing, none of it is fun, that's the trouble. What's here is actually not that bad in terms of like mechanically.
Yeah, an engine and mechanics, yeah.
Yeah, and graphically, but it's just they forgot to add any fun. There's, as you say, there's no, if you're renting rooms or something, it might be, and they got rid of the logic puzzle and there was a bit more variety to the enemies. I mean, the fact that you don't even see
the lizard creatures.
Lizard creatures, it is just robots, isn't it, you see?
Yeah, it's just robots all the way through. Yeah.
So I was quite surprised that this did so well in the magazines. It was quite reasonable reviews, really. I mean, like 70s and 80s and things like that. Which I guess 70 was bad, I guess, but because they gave everything really high, didn't they? But I mean, I remember being so disappointed with this game.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, because loved the TV show and I was really expecting something a lot more from it. Yeah, but
I'm disappointed, deeply disappointed. It's fine. You can. Clearly, it was talented people that created the game. There's a lot of skill going on in the creation of it, but it needed a producer to help develop the game and make it fun. A storyboard, a script, an idea, a premise, because this is just junk. It really is.
And it was things like this that sort of I lost a lot of trust with actually reading reviews of magazines because Sinclair Music gave it 4 out of 5.
Bollocks.
Yeah. Your Sinclair gave it 8 out of 10.
Oh, goodness see.
And Crash gave it 79%. So all of them, all of those you would left thinking, well, this is a pretty good game, but you realised it was advertising budgets were more important, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Advertising budgets and access was more important to the magazines.
Yeah.
So it was games like these that I just ended up really only buying magazines, not to necessarily read the reviews, but get the actual the cover tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's games like this that actually make you really count back with regards to the amount of turkeys that Ocean produced. There's an incredible amount that it probably equally balances their successes and hits. To be honest, for every Robocop, there's a Highlander. You know what I mean? It's just such a rush to release games that was quantity over quality, and it's just indicative of that. It's poor.
But it is a shame. I mean, yeah, it's a shame. I mean, some of these games that we've sort of covered, I mean, just as a side, but obviously there's been re-releases. Well, maybe we'll come at that at the end, actually, of other versions. But you're right. I mean, on the 8-bit era, they just, for the most part, just didn't care, did they? They just, the license was just to churn it out as quickly as possible, and us, like the saps we were as little kids, would buy them because of the name recognition.
Yeah, it's like selling crack cocaine to kids. That's what that is. They know they would buy it despite because not everybody read the reviews, or they were very good at getting it on the shelves just after a magazine had released its month. You know, I mean, that was on the shelves, so they'd have a grace period before the diatribes towards the game came out. We've got a month, let's milk this and get the game out.
Yeah, but as you see, even like with V and things like that, you know, I mean, the reviews. I mean, Crash was better than the others. I mean, your Sinclair were shills, really. They were just, and certainly as time went on, you know, Sinclair User and your Sinclair in particular, but even Crash, you know, that you could tell they were giving favourable reviews.
Zap was the same as well at some point in his life as well for the comic.
Oh, I'm sure, because the big money spinner for us kids was the cover tapes, wasn't it? And that was the whole thing. It became is like, well, I want the, you know, you were getting like 6 games, and of course, let's be honest, that was a lot of that was Ocean and companies giving games for not. I mean, often when you read the wording of the reviews,
it's careful.
It gave the truth. Yeah, you got more of the truth, but the actual number, and of course that was all that was important.
Yeah,
was often quite favourable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, now let's listen to this tune, and if you don't recognise this, what are you even doing here?
Woo, woo, woo.
Knight Rider, a shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist. Michael Knight, a young loner on a crusade crusade to champion the cause of the innocent, the helpless, the powerless, in a world of criminals who operate above the law.
So yeah, it's Knight Rider. Of course it is. It's the Hasselhoff himself, and probably one of the most iconic 80s TV shows of all time, would you say, Paul?
Oh yeah, this was huge. I mean, it was so good. The futuristically, I forget what car was it. It was converted. I can't remember, but it was the kit car was just looked so cool. It had the strobing light on the front, and of course Kit was an AI computer that he would have conversations with, and really the sidekick, wasn't it? And it had so many cool buttons in the car, and it was a cool show. I mean it was, wonderfully sexist, as the 80s often were.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But it, all about him on missions with Knight, isn't it? Who control the truck and sort of control things from back in operations, and they would save the damsel in distress or whatever was.
Yeah, Flag was the name of the.
Oh, was it? Yeah, the Flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flag, yeah.
Do you know? I mean, Knight Rider.
The Foundation for Law and Government.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. Yeah. No, I need to rewatch Knight Rider. This is one thing this episode has done for me, is that there's a stack of shows that I need to sit down and rewatch again.
Yeah.
And Knight Rider's up there.
That was one of our jokes at primary school. What'd you call a condom in the dark? Knight Rider. Shit joke.
Oh dear.
But yeah,
talking of shit.
It worked because the dynamic relationship between Michael Knight and Kit was brilliant.
Yeah.
Just absolutely superb. And obviously Kit was voiced by William Daniels, and his voice was right. The car was cool. The theme music was
iconic.
Absolutely iconic. And the whoa, when the red eye started going on the front of Kit, and just absolutely brilliant. And it was just cool. It was an uber cool show. How long did it run for, that one? I think it was something like 82 to 86.
Again, surprisingly short. I really thought it went on for ages.
Yeah.
But of course, you're right. There are probably lots of episodes in those 2 years.
Yeah.
And I guess there's only so much you can do, isn't it? The premise of a car that goes to save things is. There's only so many storylines.
You got a hospital drama like Grey's Anatomy that's in season 21 or something now. It's just all about what doctor did you have sex with in the medicine storage room in some emergency operation.
Because of course it's soaps, isn't it? And they tend to attract people like my wife, who who
watch drivelling pish.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying.
Copious quantities.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But, so with an uber cool show like this that all us kids loved, come on, surely
how could they screw this up? Yeah. How could they screw up a cool car that everybody wanted to drive?
Well, clearly.
Particularly with I know Chase HQ hasn't come out yet, is it? But it was, they clearly had the talent to do so much more.
Yeah, so this came out on the 8-bits in 1986, so it's quite late on, and people are showing real good skills on the Commodore and the Spectrum in this period, right, and Amstrad as well, right? So we have faith that we're going to get a good game. It's going to be a good driving game. This is going to be exciting. Then you fire this turd up, and what the hell is this shit sandwich? Because that's all it is, Paul, isn't it? I mean, do you want to give it a little description just to convey how? I think you summed it up as shit.
Yeah. So it's got two bits to it. Most of it is you're in the car, but you don't really feel like you're in the car. Really, it's the bottom half is just a graphic of the steering wheel with all the sort of like, you know, damage and time and all of that. And then the top half, you've got a ugly yellow road
For the Spectrum, yeah.
For the Spectrum that's twisting, and helicopters coming at you and firing, and you basically use your target to shoot. It's a basic game, and I can get on board with basic games, but this is not even fun. It doesn't feel at all like you're driving.
No.
And it's not even a fun shooting game. So it's just fails at every part.
I don't know how you do it, because I was just getting so frustrated at it. You can swap between Kit driving the car and you doing the shooting, or you driving the car and Kit doing the shooting, right? But how you activated that was me hitting all the buttons on the keyboard in anger, and it does it. It's the only way I can describe how to do it.
Yeah.
Not good. I mean, really, especially on the Commodore, it looks like a terrible game in the Atari 2600.
Yeah, it's just shockingly bad. And then the other section, which is much better, but a little bit better, but only because it's not as terrible, is an overhead sort of stealth thing, isn't it? You can't fire, you can't take over the enemies, and you have to like creep through the complex to get to whatever it is, you know, to the other side, basically.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all this game has to offer. As I say, I got this on that Screen Heroes pack, so thankfully I didn't buy it, I guess. But I was so disappointed, because like we were all so excited for these sort of like kid shows coming to where we could be Control, we could be Michael Knight and all of this, and it was just so disappointing. And you know, Ocean should be ashamed of themselves for turning out these turds. Yeah,
there's nothing worse when you can dub it like that, and you can say Shite Hawk and Shite Rider, right? And that's what they were known as. They were just utter gaming turkeys that were devoid of any fun, any gameplay. What were they thinking? How did they get past quality assurance? Anything like that. It was just, they were taking the piss with this game completely. And you had the rights to get your money back, demanding that this. And you know, software, you had no rights back in the 80s. This game's crap, I want my money back. Hey, tough pal, you paid your money, that's it.
And the thing is, I mean, basically, I know it would be years later before you got Chase HQ, but that's all you needed, wasn't it? Is if they had made sort of like from behind, outrunning like Chase HQ style game where you got a few of the weapons, it would have been just brilliant. You know, and you're right. You know, you don't need the. I mean, you could have left the stealth in, but it didn't really fit in. None of it. I mean, looking at the graphics, nothing in here would make you say, "Oh, that's Knight Rider."
No, nothing whatsoever. So if you took the game title page away, and you fired this up, you wouldn't even think for a second this was even Knight Rider. You just go, what's this crap?
And Commodore 64 version is just as bad. It's awful. I was thinking, well, maybe they just screwed up on the Spectrum version, but no, the C64 I would say is even worse, and that's not saying much. This was just disappointment beginning to end, and thankfully we got marginally better games years later, but it's never been the Knight Rider game that I think we deserve.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Just as an aside, then, do you have you played any of like the PS1 games like Dukes of Hazzard or PS2 or Dukes of Hazzard?
Nope, because, and I'll tell you why. Because of being so badly burned on the 8-bit period, after the 8-bits, I bought no tie-ins, no tie-ins whatsoever. So I'll be intrigued if there's ones you suggest that are somewhat decent.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly better than... the PS2 ones are pretty cool. You got the cutscenes and stories. The Knight Rider ones on the PS2 are really quite good as well. They're a little bit raw. There's a Dukes of Hazzard on the PS1, which is a little raw, but the ones on the PS2 is very good. I think out of all of them, though, that's the only one. I mean, obviously we mentioned Airwolf in the arcades, quite cool.
Starsky and Hutch came out in something.
That is on the PS2, and that's actually a lot of fun.
Is that
Starsky and Hutch? Because basically, it's compatible with the light. In fact, at retro events they should do this, or what have you, because you can play 2-player with one person with a light gun. And one person with the steering wheel driving, or one person driving on the controller, and setting it up with as a 2-player game, like a retro event. It would be awesome. I know I've only ever done it once that way, but it's quite fun. I mean, none of them are like absolute classics, but it's enjoyable fun. Some of the games that came out in the PS2 era in particular are really quite worth your time, and particularly the Knight Rider games I think captures at least the TV show a lot better.
Right.
They're a little rough around the edges, but they actually play. You actually feel like you're driving the kit car, and it's got all the stunts and everything you'd expect from the TV show.
Oh, that's cool. That's good then. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I remember they released games like Lost and X-Files games. That was the other one. You would always see him bargain buckets.
Yeah.
There's even Friends, the fucking game.
The trivia game. Actually, the X-Files games were actually quite good.
Well, there, okay.
Yeah, the second one we have covered years ago. I can't remember the exact name, but there's two. There's one that was on like the PS1, which had lots of full motion.
Resist or Serve, would it have been that?
Yeah, Resist or Serve. Yeah, that's kind of like Resident Evil. It's a bit like Resident Evil. Yeah, that's
okay.
That's actually a very good game if people like their survival horrors. It captures it quite well.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but you're right, most TV... there's even, unfortunately it's based on the Michael Mann film, but there is a Miami Vice on the PSP.
No, thank you. No, thank you. My days of that have long gone. I just won't get my money because, to be honest, most of these, even if the tie-in's good, they've just ripped off an already better concept. Like, let's make a Grand Theft Auto game, or let's make a, some type of racing game. Well, we've got games that deliver that without the license, and it doesn't need it. So
I would certainly recommend the Knight Rider games of the PS2. And
I think
Dukes
I
of
maybe
Hazzard.
have played it. I think you've recommended to that in the past. So because I just checked a video out and it looked familiar, so I think I have played it. So
yeah, I think we might. Did we cover it, or maybe as an honourable mention on the PS2 racing? Yeah. So, are there any other TV shows that you that either got one that we haven't covered that you want to give an honourable mention, or never got one?
There's some ropey Spanish thing on the A-Team, but I don't think it's really an official game per se. So I would say that,
A. It's called,
Yeah, but I think the A-Team could have had a lot of potential with the different characters, with their different abilities, or something, right? You might maybe got something good out of that, I think. I would have liked things like the Red Hand Gang, but you'll probably not remember that.
No.
Or the Whiz Kids, do you remember that?
No, don't remember.
Sean made zero very early 80s, late 70s shows that were fantastic.
I mean, one's got released. Believe it or not, there was a Dallas video game. It was like a graphical adventure.
I wasn't going to choose that one, mate.
There was enough pain we went through. Of course, on the A-Team again, there was the awful, weird 2600 version, which had B.A. Baracus's head.
That's right.
Just his head, and it was very surreal. I mean, it's almost admiring in its surrealness. Also, on the Master System, you got Alf.
Yes.
Alien life form. That was
smart ass alien.
Yeah, smart ass. I mean, I love the TV show. That's why I sort of played that other thing. But you're right. I mean, I think we covered pretty much most of the other games
from this period. Yeah.
From this period.
Oh, you know what? Not the text, but the Incredible Hulk. based on the TV series with the sad doom 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 tune.
Oh, yeah,
you know. I don't think Little House on the Prairie game would be very good.
No.
Stairway to Heaven, I don't think that would be very good.
I tell you one that I would love, Quantum Leap.
Oh, Quantum Leap would be awesome.
Yeah, imagine that as like an adventure game.
Yeah, that would be
be
very
awesome.
Good. Yeah.
You could even get away with like a text adventure for that. You know,
Yeah.
that would be
Oh,
great.
boy.
And jumping into different places. I guess we're only doing 90s, so Baywatch wouldn't be. That's a 90s one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you know, but you know, a bouncy representation of Baywatch would be good. Tales of the Crypt, again, I think these are 90s ones.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of any 80s ones. The big hitters have certainly been mentioned. We obviously mentioned Automan earlier, but yeah, again, they would have screwed that license up. Manimal and morphing into the different animals and using their abilities to solve the different levels. It might have been interesting.
You obviously got Buck Rogers, which had the Sega license, and also the more interesting SSI license. I think there'd always be other ones that I'd love to see with the 80s, but I think
one based on the I suppose the Adam West Batman. I mean, we kind of got that with John Rittman's Batman because it used the theme tune as that, but it was nothing really to do with Kapow and and.
Yeah, no, you're right. We only got the pinball version of that, which is kind of cool. The recent release of the pinball.
Oh, cool.
If you ever played that, yeah. But yeah, no, I think we covered most of them, and it was an interesting topic, wasn't it? With it all.
I mean, welcome to the RGDS podcast where we play the crap games so you don't have to. That's,
Yes,
that's
exactly.
our new slogan. No, I mean, we always had to return to it, and it's always good to bring up and discuss sometimes the negative side to gaming. I mean, I wouldn't want to come in episode after episode just moaning about crap games. I mean, that's just a bit defeatist,
Well, I don't think we did that. I mean, in a lot of ways, actually, I think a lot of these games were better than I thought and remembered.
Yeah, we've had some fun with them. Yeah.
There's been more hits than I mean, like, yeah, I mean, even Blue Thunder, which was frustrating, was pretty good. Yeah. I'd say the only ones that were dire for me were V, Knight Rider, Miami Vice. Definitely that'd be top of the list. But the rest were, even Dukes of Hazzard and and even like Blue Thunder, they were just frustrating more than anything.
Yeah, and that Commodore version of Fall Guy. Oh my God,
just terrible. But overall, it's. I guess the lesson was that it was you never really saw the same level of licensing happen in the 90s and beyond, and certainly now, isn't it? You don't get
it at all,
games.
really, now. No, not at all. The only licensing you get is the only people that can seem to do licensing right is the Lego reimagining of movies. They seem to nail the movies correctly and deliver a fun and enjoyable game, whether it be your Harry Potter series, whether it be Star Wars, whether it's Indiana Jones, Batman. It's fantastic. So if you can seem to do that and capture the good points, but these are movies, not TV shows.
Yeah.
I mean, if Lego did the games we played tonight, that would be very interesting.
Oh, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Lego Airwolf.
I would certainly like to see sort of like some game developers go back to some of these games, because there's definitely enough scope and love out there for a lot of these TV shows still, that they would still have the cachet, to make it worth it. But no, interesting show, and thank you for putting me through it.
Well, thanks for indulging me in this one, Paul. It was good to have you on board. Good to do another episode with you. And onwards, we'll wash our hands of all this now and move on to our next episode. So thanks for joining me again, and thank you everyone for taking the time to listen or view if you're on our YouTube channel. Great, anybody can, lend us their time as always, so much appreciated. And a big shout out always to Discord crew that always keep things active in Discord, and it's not long now until our arcade club meet up on
I know, excited.
Saturday the 21st of September.
Yeah, and everybody's welcome. So
Yeah,
just
arcade club in Bury then. We're going on Friday, the 20th, and then 21st. Saturday the 21st for the big whole day thing. Always a great meet up. More people coming this year again, Paul.
Is there? Awesome.
Yeah, there's more people
really
that couldn't make it the last time, so they're all coming. So it's going to be. I don't think that the place we have breakfast is going to have a big enough table to take us all this year. You know.
Oh, that's good. It's growing every year, so that's awesome.
It's good. So
right,
we'll see everyone then. So
yeah,
right. So thanks again, and everyone. We shall see you all in the next episode. So until then, bye for now.
yeah. Keep it retro.